If only I had spidey senses, so I can tell when something's wrong. Oh, and I'm set to protect this heart from breaking into pieces. Where's my hammer? Where's the shield? All the strength to carry the weight of the world. Fly high into the sky. I'll catch you if you fall. I'll catch you if you fall. Fly high into the sky. I'll catch you if you fall. I'll catch you if you fall.
Hello, everyone. Welcome. I am your Snap DJ, your host with the most, and welcome to another episode of Snap Decisions, the weekly pod, the live weekly pod, I guess I should say. It is live, of course, on a Tuesday night card day and all that good stuff, and I've got a lot for you. In fact, I have my first ever, and I've never done this, my first ever guest on this podcast. Now, I've had guests on the show, of course, but on the live show and the show that I've done every week, I've never had one. So, who is my guest? Well, people should have probably really guessed, really guessed by now who it might be, but it is Nick, the Greek Geek. Of course, we do the pod together called Two Dudes Snapping, and I reached out to him and I'm like, yeah, you know what, you want to come on the show tonight? And Nick was nice enough to join me. So, Nick, welcome to my weekly pod, man.
Thank you very much for having me. Hopefully you can hear me okay. Everything was a little on the quick and dirty side, so I've got my fingers crossed. So I'm assuming you can hear me okay?
Yes, I can hear you perfectly.
Fantastic. That's what I wanted to hear.
Yeah, I wanted to bring you on for more than one reason. There's just a lot going on in Snap, and I kind of wanted to get your thoughts on it and stuff like that. I was talking to Prashan earlier, and he and I had a conversation about all the things and stuff like that. And I had to, for the very first time, put out a post on Twitter about to try to calm everybody down. Yeah. Because it's just gotten to the point where it's just so negative. And I'm like, and speaking to Prashan was cool because he kind of looked at it in a different light and stuff like that, and a little bit similar to what I do. And so, but yeah, so we'll get there. There are happy things tonight, folks, too, by the way, just so you know. I've got some new segments coming up. I have a segment called DJs Spin, which is going to be the opening segment, basically where we're going to talk about like the things that are in the news, the things that are going on with Snap. And I also have changed my top 5 a little bit, and I'm going to start including the top 5 decks in the meta. I know a lot of people do that anyway, and I really didn't catch on. So I thought, yeah, why not? I'll do that. And maybe like it might be 2 out of 4 of them throughout the course of the month. And then the other ones might be just viewer top 5s. And also I have they used to have call-in stuff on the radio. So obviously can't call in anymore. There's no, you can, but there's no phones like there were in the old days of people who call in the radio stations. But basically what this is for is just listeners and viewers. So if I ask a poll question, let's say out on the X, I will read some of the replies, and I have some that are out there on the X. So I will go over that too. But Nick, man, how are you doing today?
I'm doing okay. Had a big long fight with my washer, which I'm getting very tired of doing, and I think I may be replacing that very, very soon. But outside of that, it has been quite good. been a crazy week. I know you've probably seen my posts on Twitter, and that was a nightmare.
Yeah.
But it's solved. Everybody's happy. Puppy's back home. Never again without a harness, ever, ever, ever.
Yeah, that's a nightmare when that happens. I know the dog we have now, she got out it was years ago. Like we may have had her for a couple of years, but she got out and like went all the way down the street. And then more recently, my daughters brought their dog. This was a funny story. My wife and my daughters and my daughter and her partner, my other daughter, all went to a local fair, and I basically was dog sitting. So I'm like, what can happen, right? We have a big enclosed backyard, good fence and stuff out there, right? What can happen? So I'm out and I'm kind of checking on them and going back and forth, and then I come back in the house and I go out and I'm like, yeah, it's been a long time now. They probably want to come in. So I go outside, not in the yard. I'm like, oh no. So my dog, I should say, I'm sorry, my dog was in the yard. Their dog was not. And I'm like, oh dear God. Cause like we live in a small town, but if they get out, they can go anywhere. There's alleys, there's streets, there's houses all up and down the street. So luckily I'm calling her name. I'm not seeing her anywhere. My dog is just standing there looking at me like, what are you doing? And I'm calling her name and finally she was in the next door neighbor's yard. And she had gotten to almost the very front where it meets the road. So she came back towards me. And so I go next door and I'm trying to catch her. And I'm like, I'm not going to be able to catch this dog. There's no way. She's very much faster than me. So then I turn around. All of a sudden, my dog's out there. So my dog's now behind me in the neighbor's yard. I'm like, what the hell? How did she get out? Now, my dog is, she's not thin. So I'm like, if this other one got out like somehow over the fence, there's no way my dog did. So how the hell did they both get out? Well, here was like a little pole aside of our fence, and it was just enough for them to both squeeze through the hole. And
that'll do it.
Oh my God. So luckily my dog, who is a lot older than my daughter's, was able to, it was kind of cool that she was there because she kind of led her back. I went, my dog followed me, and then she followed in through from seeing my dog come back through. Although my dog came into the fence, she insisted on coming back through where the post hole was.
Of course. But the most difficult possible way.
Luckily, I got them back because my daughters have a tracker on her. They have one of those Apple things.
Yes, the AirTags.
Yeah, AirTags. Yeah, they have one of those on her collar, so they could track her. But they were so far away that there's no way they could have. But I'm like, oh my God. And then by the time I got in, I'm like, dude, I can't. I was panicked. And there I am, like, I'm not a small dude, and I'm trying to like somehow grab a hold of her, and that was just not happening. I'm like, yeah, I don't know what I'm going to do here. And of course, there's no one around. And the next door neighbors it's a beauty salon, and they're never there unless the salon's open. So there's no one around to help. And I'm like, yeah, I'm screwed. If this dog takes off, I'm dead. There's no way I'm going to find her. So thankfully it all worked out, but holy.
I know, because it's just as likely that everything can go wrong. You never know.
Yes.
I like when it happened to me, she was out there with the dog that we were trying to breed her with.
Yeah.
And he was being a little asshole because, some dogs are just on leash, they're jerks. Off leash, they're fine. On leash, super jerks.
Yeah.
And she was moving away from him, and just the way the angle worked, I was trying to get her back, and the collar just slipped right off because she has a head like an eraser. Like there is no cheeks. There's no definition. It's just like this cylindrical head. And she looked at me for a second, realized she was free, and then went, screw you, and booted it. And it was just, I didn't have my phone with me, so I couldn't text anybody, and I didn't want to go in the house and lose her. I'm just like,
it's such a panic, man. Like it really is. It's such an absolute panic when that happens. And it's like they went out in the back the next day and they fixed the fence and all that kind of stuff. So luckily that won't happen again, but good Lord. What a moment, man. What a moment. But yeah, I could totally understand that. I've been there. So, all right, we're going to get into it because we've got a lot to talk about. So obviously I am part of the Snap Judgments Network, and you can see the logo there. So kindly provided to me by Lauren Whatevs. Love the Tribunal with the DJ headphones and the record player. It's amazing. And then of course, with all the other wonderful pods that we are with, How Can She Snap with the Kid and No Big Deal, who are usually on every Sundays. Now they are taking the week off this week because the holiday thing's going on. And I know the Kid has a crazy schedule in work. So they are taking the week off. So they will not be on this week. This pod, now, if you haven't seen already, I had Prashant on earlier today. That is out for you to watch and to listen. It is out for YouTube. And of course, for all the audio stuff too, that is out right now. You can check that out. I may have one other one this week. We'll see, because we do have Thanksgiving holidays, so I'm not sure. But I've been trying to get with Red Eye Jedi. He's been very, very patient, and we both had things going on. So we'll see if that happens. If it does, cool. If not, then it'll be probably sometime next week. And then, of course, snap on this. Lauren Whatevs, Ben Roller, and It's Just Re are absolutely amazing. One of the most fun pods I've ever listened to. They have games and stuff on there. It's just really, really fun listen. They are every Friday. And then, of course, the King Pod himself, Glazer, and Roy on the Snap Judgments pod, which is every single Saturday. He has some great people on there. He just had Glenn Jones. They did a deck list this past week with Sizer, and Den was on there as well. So really, really good players on that show. So check that out if you ever want to get some really good information on decks and stuff like that. And obviously Glazer does that every single day on his channel as well. So, all right. And as I say, one-stop shop for all your podcasting needs. There is my new segment thing, and I love it. This is called the DJs Spin segment of the show. And basically it's going to be kind of an op-ed piece where I'm going to be just kind of talking about current events and things that are going on with Snap. So tonight, Nick is going to talk things over with me in the segment. And let's start here, shall we? DP2, as some people like to call it, or Deadpool's Diner Part 2. Nick, I wasn't sure I wasn't sure if I was looking forward to this. I think I may have mentioned to you, and I put out a comment saying this should not be nearly as sweaty, because everybody wanted Cassandra Nova because they billed her as the card to counter Arishem. So everybody wanted it because Arishem was running wild. It was all over the place. And so, and then the whole debacle happened with the It's Guest Gaming video where it didn't get put out in time. Nobody really knew how to play. They went in all willy-nilly. They lost all their bubs, and they had to wait for new bubs to regenerate. So I kind of figured, okay, people know how to play now. That's good. We're playing for a card that pretty much, albeit because I have the card now, kind of sucks. It's not great. And so who cares? And then the reward at the end is another variant of a variant that was in Conquest also this month, and we have a lot of them. So I kind of thought that wouldn't happen, but boy, was I wrong.
People want free stuff, Joe. People are all about free stuff.
Oh man, dude, like not sweaty. This was way more sweaty than the last one, and that's hard to believe, but it's all, when you go into this now, all it almost is Arishem. It's almost all Arishem. Everywhere. Arishem Thanos, Arishem regular, Arishem Loki, every version of it. I've seen them all. And if it's not that, it's Clog, which I haven't seen in months, by the way. Clog isn't even in the meta anymore, and Clog is in here. This has just been horrendous. I want to get your thoughts. I will be glad if I never see this mode again. I literally will. I don't care anymore. I don't like it. I'm not even playing past to get the borders. I got the king a card, and I'm like, I'm done. I'm not playing anymore. And I even went to KM Best's the Goon Knight deck that he has. With Cassandra Nova. So I have that, and Darkhawk's, or I'm sorry, no, the Darkhawk's not in it, but Cassandra's in it. So many times you could just win with Cassandra Nova if you're playing an Arishem deck. And even still, like I'm like, nope, I'm done. I'm not playing it anymore. It's absolutely ridiculous. There are no bots except for the first level, and I think they may have fixed that. I'm not sure, but there were no bots. So yeah, what are your thoughts on this? And then this stuff. Like, now this is funny. These are all little quotes from Deadpool supposedly, and it was funny because Regis actually made this deck and it was horrible. He made it, played it on stream, and it was terrible. But I mean, you have this one with the Wambulance thing, and then this one people really did not like. With the Arishem crossed out and opponent totally cheated. And then this one, $99 bundles, and seriously on it. This caused quite a stir. Now, this didn't bother me because to me, this is just Deadpool talking here, and Deadpool often makes fun of himself, and he talks from that person. So this stuff was not anything of a bother to me. It was the decks in it, and it was the Arishems stuff and all of that. So yeah, what are your thoughts on this Deadpool's debacle? I'll call it.
Well, I wasn't looking forward to it. I didn't really look forward to the first one. I found it stressful because I'm someone who, if there is a completion, it's something that's prevented me from playing some video games, because if I don't think I can complete it, it's going to drive me crazy.
Yeah.
And now I am almost there. I am just a couple million, 300 million away from the Jane variant, which I don't need. I probably will never use, and I don't care about. But the main purpose of me doing that, the most enjoyable aspect of it last time, was being able to donate bubs. I want to be able to do that.
Yeah.
I was able to do that infinitely faster last go around. Like, I was done within a couple of days. Now it has become so much more stressful. Yeah. And especially coming off of the heels of something like the high voltage mode, which was a joy to play. It was quick and you were done and you were out, and the rewards were mediocre, but it was a much more enjoyable experience. This feels like I'm trying to grind for infinite, and getting smacked with you're out of bubs, just pay 100 gold so you can get some more, felt like crap. And it was just misery inducing. I understand why some people prefer this mode more, because it is more like ranked mode. It does have a leaderboard for those people that are chasing those big, wins with their bubs. And at the end of the day, there is no cost to you to do this. So I get from that perspective, no matter how much you contribute to this, how much you invest in this, you are not paying anything if you don't want to. If you are just a patient person, you don't have to pay a single penny, and you can get whatever you need. And honestly, once you get up to that final bub refill, getting Eitri isn't even a challenge at that point. Like, you get enough bubs that you can just go in, and if you lose, you lose. If you win, you win, and you get what you need. But it has not been an enjoyable experience. The final grind feels like it is an insurmountable hill to climb. It feels like there are less bub caps as far as how much you have at any given point in time, like the max. I don't know if that's the same. I meant to look it up and I haven't yet because I just have been too busy with other stuff. But I don't like. It's frustrating hearing the same voice lines over and over again. Like with Deadpool, the card, it's the same thing. It's like a few different voice lines, and they're funny the first or second time. But I don't know why these companies have not learned that if you can't fill it with enough voice lines, just don't do it, because it gets old really, really quickly. Yeah. The jokes in between I might have been okay with them if they were funny. I think they're just kind of cringe. I think is sort of the best way to describe some of this stuff. Yeah. Like, I'm sure you've read the Deadpool comics, like even the reboot Deadpool.
I have.
The 2000s. That had some good, solid humor in it. It kind of feels like it was written by the same people who did the titles, and I'm just kind of ambivalent on it. It's something different, but they also didn't add anything to it. They touted it as Deadpool 2.0. We listened to the feedback. We did this. And it's like, okay, we added voice lines and images in between. What else is different?
Right. 100%. Yeah. They really didn't change much of anything. And in fact, like I said, some of the stuff I pointed out, it got worse. And I get it. I know they wanted to capitalize on Deadpool and Wolverine, and that's completely understandable. I get that. However, now that that's gone, I don't think the hype's there for it anymore. And this mode is like the closest I've heard comparisons to this war, and the closest I could think of is playing Texas Hold'em and playing like a bigger style of poker where you move from one table to the next table to the next table, and it's high roller. So if you get up to the next table and you lose, you basically lose all your money and you start all the way over again. But this, like you were saying, the points you made, this is not fun. I don't understand what, you've got to understand what is fun to people, what's not. High voltage. Yes, you had some people that were playing a little sweaty, and they were playing the electro, and they hit you with the electro on your side of the board. So that was out there. but it wasn't nearly that bad. And the game is winning didn't matter. You could literally go in and play your missions and it didn't matter.
Yeah.
And that's that. I think when you don't need another game mode that's close to infinite ladder. You already have infinite ladder, and you don't need that. And the people who are playing higher up on ladder, they're playing for rank. So they're playing for what's important to them, and that's their rank overall. So yeah, this I don't know. I really don't know. I hope they get the feedback on it, because I really don't think too many people did like this. Other than maybe Arishem players. I don't know. That they possibly maybe did. I have no idea. But while we're on that topic, let's talk about Arishem, because something needs to be done with this card. I listened to Glazer's podcast on Sunday when he was talking about meta decks. When a deck with 34 cards, Thanos and Arishem, is a meta deck, you have a problem. You have an absolute problem. And that should not be. No. And so my suggestion at this point, and I don't know if they would ever do it, but my suggestion is make that whole entire deck for Arishem random. Randomize the entire deck. You don't get to make a deck. You want the extra energy, you're going to use the cards you get. And that's how it goes. That's the way I think it should be from going forward. Adding more cards to it isn't going to help, because, like I said, we're seeing Thanos decks that have 34 cards that are still able to get the cards they need. When Prashant and I were talking earlier, now they have Enchantress in their deck. Mm-hmm. So now they can get rid of a Darkhawk if you play it. And they usually will always have a Shang in their deck, so they can get rid of the big Cassandra Nova if you play that. So they have Rogue sometimes in their deck now. So they have all the counters available to them, which they may pull one of those as well, just from the random cards that they get. Mm-hmm. Prashant mentioned something. They might have a Shang. Maybe they pull a second Shang, and then they have two. So I'm sorry, but and I know there are people out there who legit like to play it. I get why they did it, because they get to, these may be people who are in lower series that get to play with all the cards. And they get to get cards that they never had before. And I get it, but I think this has outlived its usefulness at this point. And I think it's it's a deck that it makes too many people angry. It makes too many people upset. And I think something needs to be done about it.
Yeah, it's going to pull a lot of people away from the game if it hasn't already, which I think it has. I think there's been a insubstantial number of people who have gone, you know what, screw it, I'm done with this. Yep. When you face it, especially in Conquest, and it's one of the reasons why I don't play Conquest that much, because it's just like, okay, well, I don't know what they're going to get. You are in a position to where you don't know if they've got their cards, or if they've got a duplicate cards, or if they've got two of the same cards. Like, you have no way of knowing. There is no way to strategize against the deck. It is a fun deck to play, and it has, 2 seasons ago, I got to Infinite with it because I just got tired of getting countered by Arishem. Mm-hmm. I'm just like, well, fine, then I'll just build an Arishem deck and go. Because
can't beat him, join him.
Exactly. That's what I named my deck, was if you can't beat him, join him. Yep. And that's not a way you should have a game. Like, the whole point of the game should be to strategize, build decks, and really work at creating a system that is fair and you can counter. Like, you can build counters into your deck. With Arishem, you can't. Sandman doesn't do anything to stop them from playing. Nope. Because Lord knows they'll probably just have a War Machine in their deck, which was another fun deck to come across. Yep. It's all of the inequality between what you're playing and what they're playing. Yep. You're trying to play a fair game, and they're sitting there with, a massive head start. They're leagues ahead of you right at the start of the game. Yeah. And those turn 1 Loki Arishem games, you're just like it's just exhausting is really what it comes down to.
Now they're playing your deck, but they're playing with extra energy. So they're going to get out your cards faster than you could. Yeah. There's nothing. I don't get it. It doesn't compute to me sometimes, because they're always saying that they don't, we know that they don't like card draw. Yeah. Adam Warlock is a prime example of that. They don't like that. Why would you like energy cheats? Now, Wiccan is different, because Wiccan you have to build towards. I've even seen Wiccan in Arishem decks. They're already getting extra energy. Now they're getting Wiccan out early, and they're getting more energy, which is insane. So yeah, this I'm sorry, but I know that we're not going to get any changes in a good while because they're not doing another patch until the middle, like December.
Well, no,
10th
yeah, they're doing, but amazingly, that's only like 2.5 weeks away, which still, like December 1st is Saturday. How did that happen?
Yeah,
or not
that's
Saturday,
true.
Sunday.
Yeah, it is.
Like, what the shit? How did that happen?
Yeah. Oh my God, I know this year went so fast.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, I mean, I hope I better see RSM on those changes. I better see it. And I know a lot of other people. And again, we're at a bit of a volatile point here with this game a little bit. Where, you're seeing it a lot. I see it a lot on my Twitter. A lot of other people are seeing it out there. Twitter is a cesspool to begin with. Everyone knows that. And by the way, both of us are on Blue Sky, so come over to there. Yes. It's not nearly as bad. But it's, take a match on something on Twitter and it's going to be a bonfire. That's just how it is. Mm-hmm. So even if it's not nearly as bad as it sounds, it's going to get escalated 5 times worse. Yep. And this, these are a couple of things here, and I'm going to get to another one in a second. But these are some of the things here. This Arishem and all this stuff, it needs to be looked at. I'm sorry, but like I said, that should have been a red flag to them the minute that deck entered the top 10, especially with the Thanos in there. It's many times they're going to have a 20-point Thanos on the board. They just are. Mm-hmm. And so, and then they play with a Killmonger sometimes to get rid of the stone so they can start over. It's not good for the game, and something needs to be done. And I hope it just doesn't end up being, we'll add in 4 more cards to the random. No, it's not going to work. So, all right. Well, I'd love to say that there's a flip and good news, but there isn't. This came out. This was a funny story. I saw this come out. I was actually in work, and I'm like, I can't really mess around on my phone too much when I'm working because we're busy. And I saw it come out, and I'm like, okay, let me share this. And I glanced at it quickly, and I saw Fastos, I saw Grandmaster, I saw Sasquatch, Valentina, and Iron Lad next 23. I'm like, oh, okay. This doesn't look bad, but I didn't look at it fully. Yep. And I didn't see the Series 5 to Series 4 thing, and I didn't see the Series 4 to Series 3 thing. And I posted it, and I said, oh, this isn't bad. Iron Lad's good. Valentina's been played a lot lately. Pixie has her good deck types. I got the Infinite with her. Grandmaster's being played a lot. Fastos is in Surfer. X23 is great in Destroy. I'm like, this isn't bad. And then I see the glut of comments saying, like, this sucks. And I'm like, what's going on? And then I saw Series 4 to Series 3. I'm like, oh. I don't know what to say. I asked this on Twitter, and I had everybody comment. I said, I'm going to go about this a different way and have everybody comment with an emoji because I didn't want to read everybody's comments on it. And you can guess what the majority of the emojis were. Oh, yeah. It was pretty much all poop. And maybe a little bit of other things thrown in that I can't. Somebody made their own emoji with showing like an emoji's butt, which I thought was kind of clever. But this is, again, we're getting to the end of the year. Now, a lot of us were looking forward to we saw the map coming and everything that they're working on. Everybody's looking forward to like Character Master. You and I talked about that on the Two Dude Snapping show, right? Yep. And then you get this. Now, you're coming off Deadpool's Diner, which people aren't happy about. That you're getting you have the Arishem stuff going on. Then this comes out. Mm-hmm. People were looking forward to this. They heard the series drop announcement was coming. They were looking forward to this. And what does Series 3 get? Snowguard, which isn't played at all anymore, was a Loki card to begin with. Kitty Pryde, okay, I'll give them Kitty Pryde, but you don't have the cards to go with it. You that deck now has Thena in every single version of that deck. So no Thena. And there's other cards in that I'm sure too that they just don't have. So yes, you have Kitty Pryde, and Jean Grey just sucks. Jean Grey isn't played unless you're playing an ongoing deck, and those decks aren't good in the meta. No. So I don't know. When Persona was on me earlier, I asked him, I'm like, what? And I'll ask you the same question. What do they need to do here? Like this, Persona and I end up talking about packs, like Pokemon. Take the ideas from your biggest competitor right now, which is Pokemon. Everybody loves opening packs. Why not at some point start giving people packs where these Series 3 players have chances almost kind of like the old time spotlight caches where you were getting, like when I pulled the Galactus and I didn't know what I was going to get. The rarities are different in the packs, just like you would get for Magic the Gathering back in the day. You might get a super rare, which the equivalent of a super rare for a Series 3 player would be a Series 5 card. You know, like, I don't know what they're going to do here. They said they're readdressing it. Griffin came on and said they were going to address it again in January. But, you know, everybody's at a point where we've heard this before. We've heard this. They said, yes, we're going to address it. We're going to do something. Well, now it's like, I don't know, man. But again, this is just more like fuel. It's like the old Billy Joel song. We didn't start the fire. This is adding fuel to the fire that's currently burning out there right now. You know, Glazer had to go on and do a video, and I'm sure you were in the chat. You and I were both in the chat. He had to do a video because of a video came out from, was it Dragon Snap? Thunder Snap. Thunder Snap. Yes, thank you. That did it. That was saying how the game was losing players and all this kind of stuff. Glazer had to come out and do a video about that because of all that. And now this happens not even a week later. So, like, what are your, like, first of all, thoughts on this, the series drop itself, and then, you know, thoughts on what do they need to do to fix this mess?
Yes, I was in the same kind of spot that you were initially. I was like, oh, wow, there's a lot of cards dropping down to Series 4, except then you think about it, and there's a whole lot of Series 4 cards that have been Series 4 for so long, longer than Jean Grey, Snowguard, and Kitty Pryde have, like Darkhawk, like Null. These are cards that have been languishing in a 3,000 token world where people are hopefully getting them in spotlight caches. It's a huge problem, not just because they're not dropping good cards to Series 3, but the more cards they add to Series 3, the longer it takes to get through Series 3. We already know how much of a slog that is. Like, as bad as it was for you and I, you know, beta players got there a lot faster. You and I, it took us less time. Now it's like you need to be like, like you have to be like 5,000+ collection level before you are getting Series 3 complete. And that's if you are continuing to go. And that doesn't include, you know, all of the cards that they constantly are adding to the game that you are not getting. You know, they're not adding anything else to Series 3, except when they do series drops like this. But if they do expedite the series drops, then you're going to be in a position to where, okay, we've got series drops, but they're now bloating my Series 3. No one wants to have Snowguard or Jean Grey be their Series 3 pick. You've already got crap in there. You don't need more crap. And I, you know, the post from Ben Brode, it's funny. I shared that with Glazer. Glazer's like, I think that's an old post. And I think he's right. Yeah.
They were saying it was 2 years ago, which I didn't realize either when I saw it.
But I think that is something that they need to consider. They need to figure out, how can we balance this so people are not going to be in a situation to where they're getting crap to bloat up their Series 3 journey. You know, I know it was almost impossible to get a Series 5 card out of the collection track. The pity timer, there wasn't, I don't even think there was a pity timer on there. There was like a 0.1% chance of getting it. But you could get Series 4 cards that way. Now you can't. Now you have to gamble with your spotlights. And again, I know the argument. I know you get more cards technically through the spotlight system. That is diminishing. But it feels worse. It feels so much worse. And they need to make a system that it can still be, you know, like you're going to the casino, you know, the house is going to win, or at least get more money out of you than you put in, but at least it doesn't feel like crap. Like the spotlight system, the closest representation that I've got, speaking of Pokemon previously, is the Wonder Picks. And those things are a slog to, like, I hate doing it because it's just like, I don't know what I'm going to get. But I think they need to figure out something, whether they add Series 4 as a next tier or something. But I think something like packs, I think having welcome back bundles, which I've heard rumored, talked about.
They showed
don't cost $100 for Meek.
That's a thing now. I did see somebody shared that with me, and they said that they are doing in fact, let me see. Let me look this up quick, because I think I did share it on my Twitter, and I could tell you what I might be able to tell you what it is. somewhere here. Oh yeah, welcome back rewards, not bundles, but rewards. Yeah. But so this is like you get 3 mystery series 3 cards, a premium mystery variant. You get boosters. You get 1,000 credits, 500 gold, and you get borders. That's for players' collection levels under 500. Over 500, they get 3,000 tokens, mystery variant, boosters, credits, 1,000 credits, and 500 gold, and a border. So, I mean, yeah, the series 3 cards I kind of like, but other than that, even those aren't that great. I don't know that. At least it's something. Yeah. But yeah, like I don't know what it is. They mentioned we remember when we were talking. Datamine had snap packs. Right. There was something called snap packs. Maybe that's what they're developing. Maybe it's coming. And like I said, I hope so, because they need to, this honestly, first and foremost. And, Prashant mentioned to me too, he's like, I can't do videos with series 3 decks. I can't. He goes, because they're terrible. And he goes, I'm going to lose every game. So, and he said, what's that tell the new players is that you can compete. So he said, I can't do that anymore. And creators would enjoy doing that, trying to reach out to new players. Yep. I know Cozy made a mention too. He said, like, I wanted to do, new player stuff. I can't do it anymore. So that's unfortunate, because, you want as a creator to try to include everybody. You don't want to exclude people because they don't have the cards. This game started way back when, and Ben Brode's video is still out there. I still hear that video out there. What if you could play a game when you can't always get all the cards? That needs to go. And that's outlived its usefulness, and that needs to go. You can't. I get it. I get what they were kind of shooting for there, but it's outdated. It doesn't work, and that needs to go. And this, if you want to retain new players, if you want people to come in and play your game, new players, the old, the people who are playing it are set in their ways. I'm in this for the long haul, no matter if it lives or dies. Yep. And Nick too, and a lot of the other creators that are doing this. But the new people coming in, they're not going to be, and so something needs to be done. Something needs to be done, and this has to be priority one, I think, for them.
Well, especially when you're in Deadpool's diner, and I'm sure you've had this happen to where you face someone who's like 2,000 collection level, and you're like, I had someone the other day that was like 700 and something. Yep. Like, there's no winning. There's 0 chance that you are going to win. I've had some losses against those 2,000 to 3,000 collection level players, and I'm just like, oh, okay, maybe I should have, whatever. But it's not fun when you get completely whomped by someone who has cards that you've never even seen before. I mean, it's a completely weird situation that they've put new players into, that they just come into this world where you're just like, boom, okay, good luck.
Yeah.
Like it's just deflating. Like, you don't have to win every game, but to feel so miserable every time is yikes, just yikes.
And I mean, even in Magic, right? Like, yes, you had to spend money. I mean, don't get me wrong. Yep. I had to buy boxes of cards in Magic. That's how it went. You had to spend money, but you had shots at getting very good cards, just like everyone else. When you buy a box of cards or something, you could pull really good cards out of there. And many times that's how I made my decks. I had to go and I had to pull cards out of packs. But, oddly enough, when you'd play in tournaments, people would be able to make decks that could compete. Yes, you had a lot of commons and a lot of uncommons, and you had rares, and then you had the super rares, but it kind of evened itself out. So there's precedent for that. There's precedent that if you allow that to happen, it'll work itself out, and you're not ever going to please everyone. But in this respect, with this, they can't just sit back and hope it works itself out. They can't. Yep. They can't. Absolutely, because it's gonna be a disaster. So, all right. Well, that is. I believe that's maybe all. Here. Oh no, I'm sorry. Here we go. This is from Griffin here. Series drops arrives with the 10th patch. Well, these series drops will help many players along their journey. It's not intended to fix the core issues we are all feeling around card acquisition. The team remains focused on a larger long-term solution. We're planning for an even bigger series drop in the first quarter of 2025, which is faster than our previous series drop schedule. So now that's first quarter. So that's not even January. That could be March.
Yep.
So that could be January, February, March. That could be 3 months from now.
Mm-hmm.
But you know, that was what he put out there. There's Blind Owl's Jello. Okay. All right. Enough for that. We're going to try to move on to something more positive here and talk about the game. And we're going to move on. And so, yeah, so this is this section here is called My Week in Snap, and of course the meta report. And myself and Nick are going to go through some decks. So Nick, we've got a deck that I cannot stand. I hate bounce. Hate it. And you know, it was funny because I'm looking at, and I still didn't hit infinite. I'm sitting at 98. I'm sure I will, but I'm sitting at 98. But I'm like, why am I not enjoying this meta all that much? And then when I listened to Glazer's pod and they said that the top 2 decks are bounce and move, I'm like, well, there you go.
There you go.
That explains a lot because I hate both of those decks. But yes, this is the bounce list. And for those of you listening on audio, it is the Hood, Silver Sable, Rocket Raccoon, Nico Minoru, Toxin, Black Swan, Falcon, Agent Venom, Sage, Bishop, Hit Monkey, and Beast. Shout out to Glazer. He loves bounce. God bless. God bless to those who do. This is a very hard deck to counter. I'm not surprised it's high up on their list. Because unless you're playing Hide the Killmonger with Invisible Woman or you're playing Ghost, it is very difficult to counter this list. And you are going to get very large numbers from Silver Sable, from Rocket Raccoon, that are going to be dropped down by Black Swan at the end of the game, all in one shot. You're going to get a very big Bishop, a very big Hit Monkey on the last turn. You have a Sage in there now who just gets big automatically. And if she's hit by Agent Venom, even bigger. Yeah. What are your thoughts on bounce?
I like bounce, but I find it's a complicated archetype for me to wrap my brain around. You have to worry about board space. You have to worry about how you're going to best manage stuff like Black Swan and Hit Monkey and Bishop and Sage and know when to play them, how to play them. All of this sort of stuff kind of comes into play. I have seen how powerful it is. I have had luck, especially during the Elsa Bloodstone time. I was doing incredibly well with bounce. When Werewolf first came out, I was killing it with that. But it's also the kind of thing to where if I want to just play, we've talked about this, it is not a deck that you can just sit down and play, multitask, not put a ton of focus into. And it's also not a deck that lends itself to just a smooth, straightforward experience. There are constant decisions that need to be made. There are constant questions that you have to ask. You have to try and balance priority. You have to try and make sure that you're not getting too much power, but you're getting enough power that you don't get, hit with just a complete loss because you don't have enough power in that lane. I'm not a good mind game player. Like the number of times I whiff with stuff like Rocket, it's one of the reasons I haven't revisited the Guardians in forever is because I'm terrible at guessing where they're going to play. After they played, I'm like, oh yeah, that makes sense to have played there. But while I'm playing, that's a completely different story. So I know it's powerful. I know it can put up insane numbers. And it's insane because this has no tech in it. Like there is no tech at all.
Nope.
You're just trying to give a last turn flood to blow people away. And
your tech is really just Beast and Falcon getting the stuff off the board so people can't kill it. Yeah, that's 100%. Yeah, but this goes very tall. And this is again a deck that used to be stopped by Sandman.
Oh yes.
Not anymore. It is very difficult to play against. I'm getting to the point now where I literally see a deck, like a deck type or so, and I literally I'll just give them the cube. I'm like, nope, I'm not even bothering with it because I know the deck type that I play is probably not going to be able to beat it or go as tall. Discard's getting up there too. Discards, we'll talk about that in a couple of minutes, but discard's getting up there where if they get their Dracula out, it's pretty much over. You know what they've got. And you're pretty much done. They'll beat you with the Mobius and the Dracula, and then that's usually the end of it. So, this is a very tough deck to deal with, and it is definitely one of the top meta decks that's out there right now.
Yeah, it's not.
Next up is, there we go. There is the discard list.
Yeah.
This has Scorn, Blade, Mobius, the Collector, Swarm, Colleen. Now, there's different versions of this that don't play Collector, but Colleen Wing, Gambit, Corvus, and there's also ones that don't play Corvus. Lady Sif, Dracula, MODOK, and Apocalypse. So this, look, I like this card. I think it's good when discard's in the meta. Scorn just really put this deck over the top. Really put it over the top. And we were mentioning in the other show earlier that some people are now playing Strong Guy in it. And, you know, that's just another big body you can get down in the last turn. If you get that Scorn engine going, where Scorn is on the right side of your deck, of your hand rather, it's very, very, very hard to beat this. Very hard. That's why Red Guardian came back, I think, so much, because people are using Red Guardian now strictly just to get rid of Draculas in people's decks. So yeah, this is another tough one. And again, there's not much you can do other than play a Shadow King in your deck and other than play a Red Guardian in your deck to counter this. And if you don't have either one of those, you're looking at a very, very big bunch of power that can probably go over. This goes over the top of Surtur decks, which is crazy, but it does. So thoughts on discard?
I'm glad to see discard doing well. I'm frustrated with how prevalent it has become, and all it's going to do is going to end up with a massive nerf to Scorn. That's what I see right now. Morbius and Scorn are the two big issues, as with Dracula, because the only counter to Dracula is Red Guardian. And the deck that I've been running in Diner has had Rogue and Red Guardian in there, and sometimes I get both of them. But if I don't, and I can only hit one, that Dracula, what are you going to do? You know, or if you are trying to protect yourself and you hit the Morbius early because all you've got is Red Guardian, then there's Dracula there to just beef him up, as does Scorn. Scorn is putting crazy numbers on the board. It's interesting because this is a deck that this specific layout, I haven't seen the one with Corvus. The more the ones that I've seen have, you know, they'll alternate with Lady Sif in there, or the Grandmaster, so they can Gambit twice, which is, especially if you're playing a deck that's trying to build slowly, Gambit is just terrifying. Like Gambit can wipe out the two key cards that you need on your board when you've only got maybe 5 or 6 cards. It's really hard to play against because it's RNG. You never know what Gambit's going to hit. Maybe he's going to hit the useless card that you just played, you know, because you're trying to build your Wiccan curve, or maybe he's going to hit your Luke Cage, which I'm still mad about. 2 games in a row, a couple days ago, that little asshole hit my Luke Cage. The one time they had Fenris Wolf on board and they brought their Luke Cage back, which promptly won them the game. It's just like,
there is a version with Fenris in it. I think that's the one without Collector. I think Cozy may have come up with that one, and he had Fenris in his deck, and that replaces the Collector probably. So this is very difficult to handle. And you're right. I mean, Gambit's always going to hit the card you don't want it to hit. Always. When you see that Gambit played, you're like, don't hit this one, and you're like, I hit that one. But always. So I would agree. I think that if this is very high up on the charts as well, if it stays there, they're going to look at it, and the only card they're probably going to say that needs a nerf, like you said, is probably Scorn, because they've already, you know, they've buffed Apocalypse recently. Unless they do something to Dracula, but I don't really know what to do with that. You can't make it cost less. Even if you make it cost more as a 5 or something, it's still not going to matter. That's going to keep it safe from the Red Guardian if you do that. And what are you going to do? Lower its power? Power doesn't mean anything. You could lower that to -1 and it doesn't matter. So I don't know. But you're probably right. It's going to probably be Scorn. It's going to take a hit for it if something does. Okay, up next we have Scream. This just continues to amaze me that this is so good. This is the ultimate mid-range deck. It reminds me of when we had the what was it called, Silky Smooth decks going around. Very similar, you know, in the way that it uses in some of the cards it uses, but it's very, very strong deck in the meta. And it's Silver Sable, it's Kingpin, Craven, Scream, Juggernaut, Polaris, Spider-Man, Miles. Now Miles is in some and in some it's not. Stegron, Cannonball, which wasn't in the initial version of this. Cannonball wasn't in
Yeah.
the initial ones. It came in a little bit later. Arrow and then Magneto for the disruption. This deck is just, look, if they get Scream and you don't have a Luke Cage, you're in a lot of trouble.
Yep.
If they don't get their Scream, you can then technically, like the way I try to counter this is if you see Kingpin and Kraven in a lane, just fill that lane. Fill that lane as fast as you can, and just try to avoid it. But this just has a lot of disruption. Juggernaut, obviously, for winning the game. Juggernaut can just win a game. Polaris is always going to just move a 1 over, which is going to get hit by the Scream, and maybe it'll go into the Kraven lane or the Kingpin lane. Spider-Man, the same thing. And that's another card. Always, always, always goes to the lane they want him to go. Even if it is a choice of 2, it always goes to the lane they want him to go. And then Miles just cheap. Stegeron to knock something, a Cannonball to move something at the end. Arrow is going to move maybe a card or 2, and Magneto as well. So it's just a good list, and it continues to be up on top of the meta, which I did not see coming at all.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, I've been seeing this a fair amount, and it can put up some crazy numbers.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it's very fragile if you do have a Luke Cage or if you do have a Red Guardian. Like killing their Scream early just negates a lot of that. I had a game literally a couple hours ago when I was fighting with my washer in between. I was playing a game of Diner, and I played against this game. They had 2 Screams on the board, but I was playing my Ajax Wiccan deck, and it's like, oh, please, I'm looking forward to
they're building it up.
Yeah. But I had Hazmat, and I had Luke Cage, and I had Ajax on board, and it's like, okay, well then I just win. Like you stealing all that power from my cards just powers up my Ajax even more.
Yeah.
But it is a hard deck to counter. Cannonball, especially if you're clogging them up, can take you from a lane that you're winning to a lane that you're losing on the last turn. And I don't think it is oppressive yet, but it's close to it because it's very frustrating to play against.
It is,
especially if you're trying to play, something with a Wong deck or anything where you need to have, focused in on a lane. It's very easy for them to just knock you around and screw your entire combo up.
Yep.
And it gets frustrating.
It does. Yeah, I agree. This is definitely an anti-combo deck. It's for sure. Yeah. And if someone's playing one that takes a little bit long to play, you're gonna. I mean, it can even stop like Age of Venom decks by pulling an Iron Man. Yeah. If you pull the Iron Man out of that one lane, they're expecting to win with the Iron Man. Yeah. And then the Iron Man's going to get hit by Scream on top of it and be a -2. So yeah, it is really. I didn't see this lasting. I thought this was going to be a fad when this came out, and I didn't see this lasting this long. So I definitely whiffed on this one. But yeah, it is a very, very good deck. So all right. So next up we have, this is the Goon Knight one I was talking about. This is the one I got from KM Best. That works very, very well against Arishem, by the way. But this is just, it's a version of a Black Bolt stature deck. So again, you're looking at a lot of mid-range here, but against Arishem, you do have the 2 cards. You have Cassandra Nova and you have Darkhawk. And one or both of them are good, could win a game for you. You have the Juggernaut in here. So it's Korg, Hydra Bob, Fenris Wolf, Cassandra, Gambit, Juggernaut, Moon Knight, Black Widow, Proxima, Darkhawk, Black Bolt, and Stature. You will notice that the discard by Moon Knight is always going to hit Proxima. Always. There is no other even card in this deck.
Except for Fenris, which I've had it hit many times.
That's true. You've got to make sure you play Fenris down early if you get it. But you're just going to have big cards. I mean, Stature's more likely going to be a 1. You could play on the final turn. You could play Black Bolt and her on the final turn, 14 power. Against which Arishem, you're just going to have a huge Darkhawk and a huge Cassandra Nova. Gambit is in there to just destroy something good that's in there. Now, the only card that I've been questioning in this is Black Widow. And the reason why I say that is because a lot of times I get her very late. Sometimes I'll get her on turn 5 and it's useless. So there probably is a spot there that you could play with and probably get rid of Black Widow maybe if you want to. Maybe
Copycat might be a good fit.
Which
or
one?
Red Guardian. Copycat or Red Guardian.
Yeah. You could probably get rid of her in this deck because I really haven't seen much synergy with her. Yes, you can give them a draw, but again, if you're playing against Arishem, that 0-1 is going to mean nothing to them. It doesn't matter. They've got a whole handful of cards anyway, so it doesn't matter. So Black Widow you can maybe play with a little bit, but it's interesting. It's just a lot of good cards. Korg just to clog the lane a little bit and to increase the Dark Hawk a bit. Hydra Bob is just a really good 1/5. You can snap him around if you need to. Fenris, you're going to get something from Moon Knight. You're going to get something maybe from Gambit. Anything that's going to destroy or discard cards. So Black Bolt as well. You might get something really good toward the end of the game from Fenris. Cassandra, yeah, I mean, she's just a good card. Gambit, again, you know, you're getting rid of cards, and you're going to get more than likely get rid of something good that they wanted there. But yeah, this has been a pretty good deck for a deck that technically is mid-range. There's no big, huge cards in here other than maybe Darkhawk, and that's even not getting as big as it usually can.
No, because all you've got, if you're not facing Arishem, you're getting potentially just a 5 power Darkhawk, which
maybe a 9, or you might get a 9, you might get a 7. But yeah, you're right. I mean, you only have one thing that's adding to their hand, and that's Korg, really.
Yep. So that's adding an additional 2, which you know, you've got 5 there plus whatever they've got left in their deck. That's, I think, the benefit of getting Black Widow out on 3. You do have a chance to stop up their draw.
Yeah, true.
So it's an extra 2 power, but you know, I've generally seen Darkhawk at between 9 and 11 when I've been playing this deck, and I haven't had a ton of luck with it. Okay. I know there's benefit to it. I love the fact that Moon Knight is not going to discard anything else in your hand but your card. But I've had just as many times, especially when this deck first came out, is when I started playing it. Everyone else was playing it, so I wasn't discarding anything of theirs. And you just, there's nothing worse than seeing Moon Knight discard Fenris and get absolutely nothing from them, and you're just like, oh, well. Okay.
Yeah, that's true. Good point. Oh. But yeah, this has been good for me. I switched to this, and I was playing it in Diner, and I literally played, I think, like 10 matches in a row, and I didn't lose. But again, Diner different because of the Arishem, because I was getting so much Arishem, and I was just able to beat them with the Cassandra or the Darkhawk. So they'd get rid of a Cassandra, but then I would beat them in another lane with usually the Black Bolt stature combo. And then I also had the Darkhawk that I played on turn 5. So they already used up their Shang maybe to get rid of Cassandra, and I had the Darkhawk, and they couldn't deal with it. Yeah. So yeah, this is a good one if you're having trouble with Arishem and you want to finish up the Diner. It's probably a good one to try out in the Diner. So
agree.
All right, moving on. We got Malekith and Wiccan. We got a Wiccan deck. So this is Quicksilver, Shadow King, Cable, Hawkeye. Surtur is in this list. Baron Zemo, Copycat, Malekith, Wiccan, Arrow, Eliath, and Magneto. Now, there are several Wiccan decks out there. There's some that are playing Domino and Quicksilver. There's other ones that do not play Surtur. So there's a lot of Wiccan lists out there. This is just one I happened to see on a couple different occasions. I have yet to try this one, but Wiccan's one of those frustrating decks where I will never get the curve that I need to get Wiccan played properly. I'll get a 1, obviously with Quicksilver. I'll get a Hawkeye, but then I'll get her 2 arrows, and I won't get a card. I'll get a 4-cost card that I can't play, and then I can only play the arrows, and I don't get curve. Yep. So. But yeah, I mean, obviously Eliath is good into many metas. Baron Zemo's a weird card in here too, because you're just stealing another card. Malekith is going to hide a card for you. So it's kind of like a combo mill deck a little bit too, because you got Cable, you got Zemo, and you got Copycat that's going to copy a card of theirs. So, you know, a little bit of a mill thing in this too. But yeah, what are your thoughts on this deck, or just Wiccan in general in the meta?
I love Wiccan. I you know, we talked about this. That's what got me to Infinite. Basically, this deck with Baron Zemo swapped for something different. I can't remember what it was swapped for. Okay. And everything else, it didn't have Malekith in it, I don't think either. Maybe it did. I don't know. But I think this is a really good deck. I think it's a really solid deck. You do have enough to give you a pretty good curve. You know, you've got 3 3s, you've got 1 1, which is all you need. You've got 3 2s. And, you know, if you can get a Cable and a Hawkeye on board, you're pretty solid. Like if you play, you know, Kate on turn 2, and then you can play Cable and an Arrow on turn 3, you've got that flexibility. Or you throw Surtur down or Baron Zemo. It sucks when you don't get the Wiccan curve, because losing that extra energy is huge. Yeah. But Arrow's disruptive, Magneto's disruptive to discard right now, and you know, yanking all of your discard stuff, because everything but Morbius that's going to give you major points just gets yanked into a single lane. You can yank that Dracula over, and all of that power that they've built up is worthless. So I see a lot of benefit with this. And if you can get Wiccan down and be able to play Eliath and and Cable on turn 5, that's where you just feel like you've gotten the world. Copycat gives you the information on, okay, this was at the bottom of their deck. So if you're playing discard and you pull their Modoc with Copycat, no, it doesn't mean you're going to be able to use it, but you know that they're going to lose that extra burst of power there. And Shadow King for the collector games. Shadow King is one of those cards that is still really good, but it's harder to use now because you've really got to watch yourself. You know, you can't play him in the lane that you've got your Surtur. You can't play him in the lane where you've this only has really Surtur. That is a card that will boost that up.
Yeah.
And he is a card that can get pulled with Malekith. I think Malekith does. Initially, I was just like, what's pointless? If you're playing Malekith, that means that you've already not gotten your Wiccan curve. But what it does is it takes one of those 2 costs out of your deck to clear space to pull one of those cards turn 5 and turn 6.
Yeah.
Now, sometimes you'll want to play Malekith over Wiccan because, you don't have the big power in your hand. And it does. It clears that space out for you. And you can play Malekith and Copycat. I remember when I was doing the video with GC on the Power On channel, you can play Malekith and Copycat on turn 5. That's 7 energy that you're able to spend.
Yeah.
And that feels pretty good. I think it's a really strong deck. It takes some getting used to, and it takes some really working on how you want to play your hands out. But yeah, I think this is a really strong deck. It's a really fun deck to use, but it's also very telegraphed because if you see someone playing Quicksilver, they're playing a Wiccan deck.
Yeah, that's 100%. Yep. And that's how you recognize it. If the Quicksilver comes out, it's like, they're playing Wiccan. And usually if that does happen to me, usually if I see them and they end up if they don't get the curve, that's when you snap. That's a snap condition. If they do get the curve, you probably should get out because you're just going to be out. Again, you're in another situation where it's almost, you're playing Arishem. And they're just going to be able to drop those big cards all out at the end of the thing, and they're going to disrupt the stuff that you're doing. So, look, Wiccan's a fun card. I remember a lot of people underestimated that card when it first came out. But it's anything that's going to cheat energy or cheat cards is going to be good in this game. And so, it's a good deck, and it's a fun one for sure. All right, Arathanos. Good God. 34 cards, folks. This is very basic. It's Quinjet, Shadow King, Cable, Mobius, Agent Coulson, Shang-Chi, Legion, Blob, Mockingbird, Eliath, Thanos, and Arishem. There are different versions of this too. Some people are playing almost like zoo lists with all the little cards they're getting, the stones and all that kind of stuff. But this is just crazy to me. I didn't even have to spend a lot of time on this because I kind of talked about it earlier, but this is, I never thought I'd see a deck like this in the meta. Never in a million years did I think I would see this in the meta, but there it is. And this is just one version. There are different ones. There's a Loki version as well that has Loki in it instead of Quinjet. So I don't know what else to say other than broken. And I'm not going to, again, we don't need to go into too much with this because we talked about it before, but just frustrating and broken.
Yep. Agreed. We'll leave it at that. Everybody has been facing it. So they know, they know what it's like. They know the frustration.
Yep.
Simple as that.
All right, we'll move on here. And there we go. This is Toxic Ajax. Again, this is a little different. Some people don't use Zabu. This is a Zabu list because you got all the 4s in there with Malik and Man-Thing and Anti-Venom, but he's not in many of them. Hydra Bob, Hazmat, Shadow King, U.S. Agent Cassandra. Rogue is in this list, and probably because of opposing Luke Cages is what my guess would be, because Luke Cage started to appear in a lot of decks. Luke Cage, obviously, Malekith, Anti-Venom. Really doesn't have a bad hit in here. Anti-Venom doesn't. Man-Thing can just solo a lane. Can just absolutely solo a lane, and Ajax just gets very, very, very big. He's like the equivalent almost to Gilgamesh in Zoo.
Yeah.
Where he just get very big and just win you a lane. So this is a fun deck. I haven't played with the Zabu version very much. I just saw this one not that long ago. I was playing a different version of it a little bit back, and you've been playing it, so you're probably playing a different version, I imagine, too.
Yeah, I've messed around with this one versus I think there was a Wiccan Toxic version. It's a really strong deck, but
Mhm.
it does fold very quickly to certain archetypes.
Yeah.
I haven't gone back to this one, I think, since Diner was out and about.
Okay.
So there is a different kind of thought process behind what's going on with this one. I think it has a lot of good stopping points for a lot of the big meta decks that are out there. Like the Rogue can take the Morbius if you're playing against someone who's doing discard, because that's really all the tech that they've got. And it doesn't matter if Rogue's on the board and gets killed. The whole point was you stealing their Morbius.
Yeah.
Does nothing to stuff
Morbius,
like,
yes.
yeah, it doesn't do anything when, you've got a Dracula on the board. The US
No,
agent
man.
does only but so much. Like, I think it's a solid deck. I think it's a strong deck. I don't know if it's the best deck right now,
Yeah.
but it can be.
Yep, agreed. And yeah, this is another one where if you're getting a lot of discard in your meta, you can always replace Zabu, take him out and put in Red Guardian instead and have him in there as well as another way to, get rid of a Dracula or something in discard. So yeah, this is a fun one. I like this list. The Malekith tends to hide a lot of good cards too in this. He'll hide like a last turn US agent. He'll hide a Luke Cage where your opponent's thinking they got you because your cards are all getting hit by all this stuff like Man Thing and everything. And then you just flip over the Luke Cage and win. So fun deck. All right. Some variants here to talk about. We got the Sweeney Boo Rogue. I like this. I really like it. I like the animation style on it. And this is a nice 700 one, so of course I opened it from a cache.
Yep.
But yeah, what do you think of this? I dig it, man. I like it. Very, very cartoon style variant.
Yeah. I think this is one of the better Rogue variants, even including some of the higher super rares that she has. I think it's great. I think it's fun. I think it's for 700 gold. I don't think you can go wrong.
No.
And especially for free for us. Yeah.
Yeah. Yes. Hey, look, we're all for free, man. We're getting that whole album for free practically.
Yep.
For the
Yep.
I pulled after I spoke to you, I pulled the what did I get?
Is it the Goliath that you posted about?
I got the Goliath, but then I opened another cache and I got the Moon Girl variant. So yeah, I want the Cosmo too. The Cosmo's so cool.
Yep. I pulled the Cosmo from
Did you?
Diner because I was holding on to my mystery variants there.
Oh,
So
nice.
I know on the 26th they're going to come out and I can just snag them up that way.
Nice. Yeah. We're lucky enough that we're collection complete with rares, so we'll get all these in the caches, which is kind of nice. At least that'll be cool because there'll be something to pull instead of getting crappy avatars or something.
Exactly.
So we have, here you go. This is the Diodato. He's a comic book writer, actually. This is the Jane Foster that was in the Conquest mode, which, to be honest, I kind of like this one better than the Deadpool one anyway.
Yeah.
Not to say that, the art is ever bad. The artists do an amazing job. But I kind of like this one a little better anyway. And I have the Dan Hip one, which I like too. I've used that one a lot. So there's a lot of Jane Foster, and I just don't play her. I'm not a negative player. It's not something I play, and I don't really play the Thor's decks very often either. So, and this was just confusing to me. Why have it in Conquest and then also have another one in Deadpool's Diner? Made no sense.
The fact that they've had 2 game modes now that come out where they've given a card but not had a variant for that just makes me kind of go, what? All of these decisions, I'm just like, what are you doing with all of the money that you're earning? You're not paying the artists anything. So where is that money going? What is happening with that? And
the only excuse I could think of is that they didn't have art ready for King Eitri variant. That's the only thing I could think of. And they've said that in the past, but it's like, come on, you could communicate with the artists and be like, listen, I need a King Eitri variant. Somebody's going to be able to do it for you.
Yeah. Go call Dan Hip. I don't care.
Right.
Give me a Dan Hip variant for a card.
Yeah.
I just want a variant for the card. It's not that difficult. And I think
Agreed.
that's something that they really need to fix. Like they knew that Deadpool's Diner was coming up. They knew
they certainly did.
Like listening to Glenn talking about it, he's had this stuff planned for forever.
Yeah.
So it's like, okay, cool. Just be prepared for when these things happen so that you're not leaving us in the dust with these based cards. There's still no variants for Agony. There's still no data mine variants for Eitri.
Yep.
That's
Agreed.
silly.
Yep. I agree. All right. Let's see what we got next. We got some bundles to talk about. These are actually new ones that are coming for December. I'm not going to spend a lot of time with these because Nick and I cover this on our other podcast. So I'm not going to go over a lot with this. This is a $99 one. 2 spotlight keys, 5,000 gold, 5,000 credits. That's good to see, at least anyway, that they're putting the 5,000 gold back. The 5,000 credits are back. You're getting a cash key. I don't know what the metallic silver borders. Yeah, so they're 2 borders. Yeah. And then you get a Mockingbird and a Wasp. The Mockingbird's nice. The art's cool.
Yeah.
And the Wasp, that's another thing card I don't know that I put in a bundle. You don't really play much Wasp ever, unless you're playing Lockjaw or something like that, which, So, but this is coming out. These are all December bundles. So again, I'm going to kind of blow through these. I'm not going to spend a lot. There's another cute Cosmo that's coming. Star Paws, which is kind of cute. A border bundle. So you're getting 3 web black borders, which people like, the web ones, 1,500 credits and boosters. So a little different. A Shadow King one, very creepy Shadow King. Is just a point of his head, and you can see the red eyes and stuff like that on it. Kind of cool. A mystery variants. Again, I'm not going to spend too much because we will cover that on 2 Dudes Snapping. You got a Zabu. We got a Moon Knight. We got a new wave. We got well, no, this one's not. Yeah, that's a new one. We got Beta Ray Bill coming. Devil Dino and Beast. The art was fun on these. I like the art. It looks
and it's a gold bundle.
It is a gold bundle, yes. And the art looks very fun. We got the Devil Wears Blue, a Mystique bundle. And then, so there you go. I just buzzed through them. That's me at 98.
Yep.
Hanging at 98.
I do want to make one mention about the Mockingbird variant. It is way overpriced, but one of the things to factor in with that as well is Mockingbird is still a Series 5 card. So, it's 6,000 tokens worth of a card. So there is something to be said there. It's just funny. It's like, here's this high series card that you can use in a lot of decks. And then you've got this Wasp card that is a Series 3. It still boggles my mind that Wasp is a Series 3 card.
Yeah,
and I don't know.
Wasp and Archery Studios Mockingbird. Yeah,
it's weird that they're mixing the studios. I don't ever think they've ever done a bundle previously where they've had 2 different studios in the same bundle.
Agreed.
So this is new. I don't know.
Yeah, it is a little weird, and this is an expensive bundle too. But I mean, at least they're giving it. Like I said, at least they're giving the gold back again. At least you're getting the credits, but at least it's not 7,000 credits and 3,000 gold. It's kind of back to where it was before. So again, it's something to consider. It is a lot, but it's something to consider if you don't have Mockingbird in your collection. It is a really, really good card. So tune in to 2 Dudes Snapping because we'll go over these in much, much more detail. Okay. Let's go into my weekly top 5. This is decks of the week. So many of these decks you might have seen in the earlier portion, but again, this is the top 5 decks, and this is from a Snap Zone that I got these from. So let me see if they're in order. Hopefully they are. So yes, this is, I think they're going 1, 2, 5. So this is number 1 in win rate, and this is Bounce. We talked about this earlier. It's the Hood, Kitty. Now this has Kitty, Rocket, Iceman. It's a little different. Nico, Toxin, Black Swan, Falcon, Agent Venom, Bishop, Hit Monkey, and Beast are all the same as the one we went over earlier. But this is at win rate, and this is the win rate set for Series 5. And it's, I forget what ladder I chose. I chose all the highest ones. Yeah. So that's a pretty good win rate for a deck.
Yeah, agreed.
So, yeah,
it's a solid deck. I mean, it's just like the other bounce deck that you talked about. It makes sense that this is up there. At least with this one, I like it a bit more because I always know I can, if nothing else, I can play Kitty down and start to buff her up.
Yeah, absolutely. Number 2, Arishem Thanos. Good Lord. 59% win rate. And this is what I said before, guys. This is what I'm talking about. This is scary. When you get a deck that has 30-some cards and it is winning at 59% of the time, the meta share is 8.23. It's not good. Now, this one's a little different from the other one again. The Shadow King, Coulson, Copycat, Shang-Chi. Here's what I'm talking about. There's the Shang-Chi. There's the Enchantress. So you can Shang-Chi something like a Cassandra. You can Enchantress a Darkhawk if that's how they're going to try to counter you. You've got a Cole, a Blue Marvel, a Legion. Legion can just win you games. Just wins you games. You don't know what you're going to pull from Coulson or Copycat. You're going to get random stuff from those. You got a Cole as a big body. Mockingbird is going to get down easier with the Thanos stones. Eliath is there for the end of the game. And Thanos can easily probably get to a 20. So, yeah, this is this is what I'm talking about that I hope Second Dinner looks at. And I hope they notice it, because I don't believe that they ever would have wanted Thanos Arishem at this high in the meta. So discard Scorn. We talked about this one too. Now this I think is different. Yeah, no Corvus in this. This is Scorn, Blade, Morbius, Swarm, Colleen, Gambit, Moon Knight, Lady Sif, Dracula, Proxima. So this one has Proxima and Moon Knight. And then, of course, MODOK and Apocalypse. So 58% win rate. So again, very high. And this one isn't the one that I showed that I had on the list a little bit earlier. This is the one with Moon Knight and Proxima Midnight. So as we talked about earlier, good deck. Good deck.
Very.
Next is Surtur. 54. Nico, Zabu, Psylocke, Armor, Cosmo, Surtur, Atuma, Crossbones, Cull, Typhoid Mary, Arrow, and Scar. Nick, your basic Surtur list. This is what we've been seeing pretty much since the meta began. Nico switched around a little bit, but I mean, you're going to have the Armor in there to protect. You're going to have Cosmo in there to protect those bigger cards. All I will say is a lot of the Surtur decks now are including Luke Cage. And you may want to think about that, because if you don't, and someone hits you with a toxic deck and they're playing Scorpion, every single one of these 4s is now a 9, and it will not increase your Surtur. So just be aware that if you're going to play this list, you may want to put Luke Cage in your deck.
Yes.
All right. We got our number 4, Arishem Loki at 53%. Loki, Shadow King, Cable, Coulson, Copycat, Shang, Legion, Blob, Mockingbird, Thanos, and Arishem. Another Arishem Thanos deck, this time with Loki. So, ick.
Yeah, I think that's the best way to describe it, is just like ick.
Yeah. And lastly, I'm sorry, I lost count. That was number 5. So there's your top 5 for the week. I won't do this every single week, because I'll still be taking suggestions from people for the top 5 list. But I would, I'll have these out like maybe every other or something like that, just to make people aware of what is out there in the meta right now. So, all right, we're moving on. This will be fun. We're moving on to Comics Corner. And Nick and I talk about comics a lot too, but in this particular episode, Nick, we're going to talk about the new cards. So we're going to talk about Gorr, the God Butcher, and King Eitri. Both of them in comics as well. There is Gorr. Have you had any time to play Gorr, the God Butcher? I was playing him in an Annihilus Galactus deck a little bit earlier today. Yes.
Interesting. I wouldn't think about that, but that does kind of make sense.
All on reveals.
Kind of makes sense.
All on reveals in the deck. So he's going up with every, and I'll tell you what, highest I saw him, because again, you got to remember, this counts all cards, and there are a lot of people playing on reveals lately. A lot. He got up to a 627 for me. Wow. In a game.
Nice.
So it's basically like your normal. Well, no, I'm sorry. It's a little different of a shell. It has. I don't have this here, and I forget. The name escapes me of who came up with this. But it was just at Galactus. It obviously didn't have Gorr in it, but they came up with this, and it's an interesting list. I'm going to read it off here really quickly. It's the Hood, Bucky Barnes, Carnage, Angel is in this deck. That is all pretty much to get you priority.
Yeah, that makes sense.
The Bucky's going to be a 7 when you kill it with the Carnage, and you get the Hood, you have a 6. The Angel's going to pop into that lane. So right away, that's going to be a 10, maybe +2. It's going to be a 12-point lane. You have the Goblins. So you have Green Goblin, Hobgoblin. You have Cassandra Nova in the deck. You have a Viper to possibly get rid of your Hood and throw that over to the other side. Or if they happen to be playing Clog or something, that helps you. Sentry, Annihilus, Gorr, and Galactus. So you have ultimately, you have a lot of win conditions. You could just win with the Galactus if you use the Goblins. But you also have Gorr in there as a big finisher. So have you played him yet?
No, I've opened him and I was like, okay, I need to play him, and I have absolutely not. I've wanted to let a couple people figure out what is a good deck to go with. Yeah. I've gotten beat by him multiple times, but yeah.
He's a big dude, man.
He is a very big dude. Like
he is
massive.
He is a big guy. I saw Alex Kocha playing him in Zoo. Which, I mean, he could fit in there. There are so many on reveals in Zoo. that you're just going to get. And then I think he brought up the point with what's her name, Shauna. Shauna can spit out on reveals.
Exactly. That's the thing. As I was watching Snap Surfing with Sino today, and that was one of the things that people were talking about. Is you toss them in with a zoo deck, you play Shanna down. What one of the other people, White Wayne Brady, was saying is like, yeah, wait until those people start to see the hard pulls of Shanna, where she hits the cards in your hand with, a bast or whatever. There are some
you can hit a
hits.
Squirrel Girl and totally screw yourself. Yes. Yeah, you can. Yeah.
But I think there is a lot of potential there. And I think it's an interesting and very inspired choice, because if you get your board full enough, you can play him and Mockingbird down on the last turn. And that's a lot of power.
Yep. Yeah, it absolutely is. And it's almost like they were talking about it on the Snapchat, and he said it's almost like having a finisher for Zoo. Now you had Gilgamesh. Gilgamesh was a good one, but now you have a finisher who can maybe get you 20 some power instead of whatever it was. So yeah, this is it's a good card in any on reveal deck. Any on reveal deck is going to be good with this card. Because you're getting credit for your own, but you're also getting credit for your opponents. And he's just going to be huge. I saw a bunch of negative running around too, and I called that one. I called that one. You're going to see a lot of Mr. Negative happening out there as well, just because of what he is. But yeah, this card, honestly, this card along with Surtur may end up being the two best cards of the month.
Yeah, I 100% am in full agreement with that. I think they are hands down the best cards. And I remember I was expecting Fenris was going to be the card.
Yeah, I remember we talked about that on the show. Yep.
When I did the video for Power On, I was like, Fenris is my card of the month. And then I think at that point I had forgotten that, it's an activate. So I can't do that and Shang on the last turn.
Yep.
And that does limit its power. And Gorr, on the other hand, is not as exciting a card to play. Like, it's just big number stick kind of situation. And I know I've heard Glazer and both Lauren talk about that as far as their enjoyability factors. They don't have the same pull that some of the other cards do, but you cannot argue with the fact that he's going to get a ton of power. And if you can get him out early with Ravonna, you can play Mystique and have another one of him that is actually more power than him. Usually when you play Mystique, you Mystique your Darkhawk or your Ajax or whatever, you're losing the power that they have built in. You're just getting more power, and he's huge. He's absolutely huge. And Ravonna discounts him. That's a big factor. You can get Ravonna on the board and play him on 5, Mystique on 6 with other stuff.
That's true. I didn't even think about that. She should be in that deck that I have too. Ravonna should be, because I have the goblins in there already. So she should definitely be in that deck. You're right. Yeah. Yep, that's a good
What do you
call.
take out? What do you take out? That's the question.
That's the thing. I would have to kind of change the shell around. I'd probably have to take the destroy part of it out of there and just change the shell around back to maybe a more traditional one. Have like Hydra Bob in there for early stuff. But a lot of times too, you don't necessarily need priority in those decks, because if you're holding on to an Annihilus, you can always just create it. And especially if they're throwing negative stuff over on your side, it's just going to help you anyway. He's a big dude. He's going to be good, and a lot of people are going to get him. So just be on the lookout for Gorr the God Butcher, because he's going to be out there big time over the next few days, probably over the last part of the week.
He's got really cool animation too.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah, it really does. Here's the Deadpool card, King Eitri. I did try him in a Thor's deck. The problem is that, and I was laughing because Cozy messed up his video for this card, because not messed it up, but he couldn't get the card. He could never pull the card. And so that's the problem with this. If you don't get this card out before like turn 3, it's useless. It's absolutely useless. So you have to pull this on turn 1 or turn 2. If you don't, it's a useless card. And I don't want to say where else this goes, because there's another deck that would like to use this too. And I think I've talked about it enough tonight already. But
you know what I will say, in pure Thanos, he's a pretty good card to have. Pulling one of the stones out especially when you're drawing cards with the stones already. I do think in that other shell, I think he's less useful because you're pulling randomness more than
True,
you
you're getting
are.
random cards. Yeah, that's
But
true.
in a Thanos deck, you want to get those cards out, and he's a 1/2. So
Yeah, yeah. And I have seen people trying Thanos Zoo. A lot of people have
Mhm.
been trying Thanos Zoo a lot out too. So yeah, that's true. He could be a good card for Thanos Zoo.
but
But
again, you
yeah,
have to pull him, and
you
you have to
do.
pull him early enough before
Yep.
he's worthless.
Yep, absolutely. And the Thor's decks, again, they just don't. And even if you're alternating with him pulling the hammers and then Jane getting the hammers again, they don't go high enough. They just don't go tall enough. They can't match up to the discard decks. They can't match up to the bounce decks. They don't go tall enough. And
You know what they're doing though? What I saw today, and I got beat badly with.
Okay,
They toss Gorr in there, Lockjaw and Gorr.
true. All on reveals. Yeah,
Mhm.
yeah, that's true. Yep.
He was, I think, 30 power. They had 2 of them because I stupidly changed whatever one that copies the cards that fills it with that card. And
Oh, yep.
yeah, it didn't go well for me at all.
No, I imagine not if he's getting up to 30 power. Yeah. Yeah, that's true. That deck is all on reveals too. Yeah.
Yep.
Well, that's what I mean, man. Gorr is gonna go everywhere. Could you imagine all the Wong decks that are gonna have Gorr in them too? Yeah, Gorr is gonna be everywhere right now because people love playing on reveals. So I will say this: if you're not a fan of it, play Cosmo.
Yep.
Play a lot of Cosmo and Shadow King because you're gonna see a lot. You're gonna see a lot of on reveal stuff. So. All right, so they are the 2 new cards for the week. And look at this. We have
right.
Eitri from the MCU. That is Peter Dinklage, who, of course, played Eitri in Infinity War. Yes, he was in Infinity War. When Thor went to... No, was it? I'm sorry. Was he in Infinity War or Endgame? He was in Endgame, I think. I think he was in
Which
Endgame.
is the one that
He had to go build his hammer. He had Stormbreaker.
Yeah,
No, it was Infinity War. It's Infinity War.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, because that's when he axes Thanos and he says, you should have gone for the head. Yeah. So that is King Eitri in the MCU, if you didn't already know that, or if you didn't see Endgame and you've been living under a rock somewhere.
Yeah. Spoiler.
Yes. Spoiler alert. Yes. He's he plays him in the film. And he certainly did make Stormbreaker. He made the axe in the movie. He also makes other weapons as well, as you will see as we go. That is King Eitri in the comics.
Yikes.
He looks like a cave troll.
He looks like something from that 70s animated Hobbit movie that I'm sure you and I have watched countless times. Yeah.
Yes, I have. Yes. Yeah. That is what he has looked like in the comics. And you can see how frail he is. And I mean, you can't, no muscular stuff on him at all. Lifting hammers and stuff like that. Not sure how he's doing it with this version of him.
Well, it looks like he all is just muscle. He's just muscle. There's nothing else on
nothing. No, he's like thin as a stick.
Yeah.
And yeah, you just see like all the, I'm trying to describe him to the audio listeners. Yeah. He's got long brown hair that practically covers his face, a very large nose. And yes, he's all musculature and nothing else. And a big, huge pot belly. So that's
I envy the audio listeners right now. That's for sure.
You're imagining something very strange that is definitely not what we're looking at. Probably yes. All right. Eitri, Forge Master of Nidavellir, brother to Buri and Brock, husband to Egvanda, father to Kindra, he who birthed Mjolnir into the world from Rot Uru, king amongst the dwarves. It's a quote by the All-Father Thor. So there's just some history here. He is the king of the dwarves and was known as one of the greatest forgers and weapon makers who helped create some of the most powerful weapons in the Nine Worlds. When the New Mutants visited the realms of Asgard, Sam Guthrie befriended Eitri and his daughter and was adopted into the dwarves as son of his heart to Eitri. When Hela possessed the Valkyries in an attempt to kill Odin during the Odin sleep, Eitri led the dwarves in an assault on Hela's castle. His soldiers ended up battling the New Mutants before Eitri stepped in, adding to the New Mutants to his list of allies. They attacked Hela's castle, but Eitri was captured and forced to make Hela a death sword, lest his daughter and the New Mutants be killed. However, Eitri forged a flaw into the sword. After being freed by the New Mutants, he joined them in the final battle against the possessed Danielle Moonstar, where he nicked the sword in a spot of its weakness, letting Sam destroy it and stop Hela's plan. Never tell a swordsman to make you a sword and you're their enemy, because they are going to do something to that sword that is not going to work properly. So that's the moral of that story. He's at an extended lifespan, being well over 1,000 years old, and presumably possesses some degree of superhuman strength, durability, and resistance to diseases. He's a master forger, supernatural skill at crafting instruments, especially those of Uru metal. He is also an able swordsman and has wielded swords and hammers in combat. That's his first appearance. Thor Annual number 11, and this came out in 1983. So if you want to go back and you want to find out where Eitri came from, this is where he was. Look how cheap comics were back then.
Yeah. Although $1 back in 1983
That's true.
was a decent amount.
That's true, because I mean we were getting a minimum wage back then of $3.35 an hour. Yep. So yes, that's true. It's like a third of your wage an hour to buy a comic book. So not like when you were looking at the 70s ones when they were like 40 cents, 30 cents, 25 cents. Yeah. But that is his first appearance. If you want to check it out, you can probably find that, I would imagine, on Marvel Unlimited for that. All right, we're going to move on to Gorr. This is a scene, Gorr fighting Thor, obviously. You can see his sword on his side, and then Thor with this is a relatively new version of Thor, where he had the armor and stuff on his leggings. And of course, he wore gloves, black gloves, a little more black than he used to wear than the traditional blue with the spots and stuff on it. So very cool artwork, though. I'm not exactly sure who did the art for this. And I didn't realize I knew who he was, but I never read the story about him. I never actually read the comics. Prashant's like, dude, you need to read the books. They are amazing. And he's and way better than, and here it is right here. This is his first appearance. This is Thor, God of Thunder, number 2. And it is by Jason Aaron. I have to look really close here. And it's Usad Ribic, Dean White. I hope I didn't butcher his name. I think that's it. But yeah, those of you who didn't read it, it's a great read. Prashant said it's awesome. It's very dark, as you would imagine, as opposed to the horrible rendition we got in the film. Rendition we got in the movie. That movie was like a joke a minute, and there was nothing dark about it at all. No. So this is an instance where you'd want to read the book, because you're missing out if you don't. But a very cool cover. Gorr is an unknown alien race from an unnamed planet, and it was known as the Redeemer, Killer of Gods, Butcher of Gods, and the Black Butcher. Is a necro sword. Superhuman strength, speed, durability, and reflexes. Strengthens its power each time it slays a god. Constituent matter manipulation, regenerative healing factor, dark energy manipulation, and virtual immortality. So he is a hell of a villain. The God Butcher has been described as one of Marvel's most notable and powerful supervillains, as well as one of Thor's greatest foes. Character made his live-action debut in the Marvel Cinematic Universe film Thor: Love and Thunder, portrayed by Christian Bale, who I love. Christian Bale's a great actor. And when I first heard he was playing him, and I kind of knew a little bit about the backstory, I was like, oh, this is going to be awesome. But I had expected it to be a darker film, and it was not. It just wasn't. They made it, it was just silly. Gorr grew up on a nameless barren planet where earthquakes, lack of water, and wild animals are common. No gods helped his people, but they still trusted blindly in their faith. When his mother, mate, and children died, he thought gods could not exist, and because of that, he was outcast by his tribe. When he learned gods did exist, but they do not help those in need, such as his dying family, he vowed to kill them all, and then acquired All Black, the necro sword from Null. After witnessing Null in combat with a golden god, he eventually finds young Thor Odinson on Earth in medieval Iceland. Nearly killed him, but a band of Vikings came to assist him in their battle while Gorr escaped with his arm cut off. He soon learned he needed help, so he created an army of shadow berserkers, then slowly and quietly eliminated more and more gods. Eventually, in present day, Thor noticed the missing gods and investigated their disappearances. This brought Gorr and Thor to another battle. Gorr then teleported into the future, spending centuries resuming his campaign against the gods. By the time Thor followed him there. His aged counterpart was last defending the realm against the Shadow Berserkers. Gorr also brings the young Thor into the future, where his wife and children have seemingly been resurrected, as he's about to set off the God Bomb, wanting to force Thor, who originally defeated him, to witness the results of his efforts. Young Thor escapes and joins forces with his other selves to mount a new attack, but his assault fails and all three Thors are captured. However, when Gorr kills his wife for calling him her god, Wow, he killed his own wife. Damn.
Oof.
Gorr's son, actually a construct made out of all black, the Necrosword releases Thor the Avenger from captivity and asks him to kill his father. Observing that the man his father once was would be horrified at what he's become, Thor dives into the heart of the God Bomb, wielding both Mjolnir and the Mjolnir of his older self. The prayers of all the gods from across time give Thor the power to absorb the blast Thor from the present, and uses 2 Mjolnirs to kill Gorr. Sounds like a dark comic. Like I said, I have to read this.
Yeah.
Gorr is a mortal who does not have superhuman abilities. He later enters in possession of the symbolic weapon, the all black, the Necrosword, which, according to Galactus, carved the first dawn from the stone of the endless night. The blade was forged by Null, the progenitor of the Clintar species, using the head of a slain celestial. The blade is later banished into a black hole, but an elderly King Thor uses it to battle Galactus. That's another one I'm going to have to read now. Bonding with the all black, the Necrosword provides its various superpowers to the one who wields it. The sword grants superhuman strength, durability, speed, and reflexes. The blade lets its user create different constructs, such as wings, allowing the user to flight extreme speeds, magical weapons, sharp tendrils that can kill any god, including Asgardians, and a shroud of berserkers constructed out of darkness. The sword grants immortality. It allows its wielder to recover quickly from injuries. With the sword, Gorr also created the God Bomb, an anti-divinity armament designed to kill every god who had existed or who ever would exist. Additionally, each time a god is slain by the blade, it provides more power to its wielder. Legacy returns to haunt Thor with Nick Fury currently wielding the eye and knowledge of the murdered Uatu. Following original Sin storyline, which whispers a secret to him that causes Thor to lose the ability to wield his hammer. After spending months tormented by that secret, refusing to share it with anyone else, Thor reveals to Beta Ray Bill that the secret was Gorr was right, affirming, like Thanos was right, affirming to Bill that he now believes that Gorr was correct, that the universe would have been better without gods. Despite that, Bill assures Thor that his willingness to keep fighting for others, even without his hammer, shows that he is more than a god. These years in the future, Gorr is resurrected through the Necrosword by Loki to kill Thor. Of course, Loki does. Okay. More powerful than ever, Gorr attempts to destroy the universe, but is depowered by Thor and driven insane, sent to live out the rest of his now mortal life on Indigar. Gorr appears in the MCU film Thor Love and Thunder, portrayed by Christian Bale. This version has a more human-like appearance, only having white skin, reminiscent of his comic book counterpart. He looks very much more alien in comics. In addition, the Necrosword chose him as his wielder in retaliation for losing his daughter Love, portrayed by India Hemsworth. Oh wow, is that Thor's Chris Hemsworth's daughter?
Yeah, clearly.
Huh. That's cool. I didn't know that. And his prayers to his god Rapu being left unanswered, corrupting him in his quest to kill all gods. Gorr attacks Thor, steals his axe Stormbreaker to reach eternity, despite the Necrosword slowly killing him. After Jane Foster, Mighty Thor destroys the Necrosword, Gorr is freed of its influence, sees the error of his ways, and asks eternity to bring Love back before he dies. With Gorr dead, Thor raises Love to be a Viking warrior. That's right. He ended up with that little girl at the end of the end of the movie. So, so there you go. That is all the comic stuff about Thor and Gorr and Eitri and all that good stuff. So you may want to go back and check out that Gorr the God Butcher story, because I think it's really good. I'm gonna have to go check it out myself too.
And before we go on to this, I just wanted to bring up two things. Number one, if for any of the video game fans out there and people that enjoy the God of War series, Brock and Sindri, brothers to Eitri in Norse mythology, are actually in God of War and God of War Ragnarok on the PS5. I was like, wait a second. You said the name Brock as his brother, and I was like, I recognize that name. And sure enough, those are the dwarves there. Also, his power of the God Bomb was what his initial text used to be, because remember, he used to destroy all 6 costs on the board or anywhere.
Right. Yeah, that's a great call. Yeah, you're absolutely right. That's what it was. It was data mine that.
Yeah, it was a lot more lore accurate than I think just the getting power from on reveals. But I think too powerful.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah, it almost seems like they gave him, with the new version, it almost seems like it's more the Necrosword version, that he's sucking power away from them, but he's not destroying the gods. So yeah, that's you're right. I like the old text. I know it was is way too overpowered. But
it's so much more lore accurate, and you love getting stuff that's lore accurate, like you know, Thor calling his hammer and Jane being able to bring it in. Like those were so nice, such nice synergies to that archetype. But
agreed. Yeah. This is the spotlight cash, guys, from today. It's how many keys did it take? It took me 3.
I spent tokens. I was like, screw it. I might roll one to see if I could get the Gorr variant, but I don't care about the Havoc variant. I don't care about the Legion variant. I have the Flaviano Legion. The only other Legion variant that I care about would be if Ink Pulp made one. Outside of that, don't care. So
I ended up getting the Legion. I don't mind it. I don't have many Legion variants. I think I only have 2. So I don't mind it. I'm glad I didn't get to have it because I never used the card. Yeah. So I ended up spending 3. And of course I got the dumb tokens one at the beginning. I got a card I didn't need, of course. But whatever. But yeah, that's the spotlight cash. Again, we'll talk about this more on Two Dudes Snapping as well, and give you our suggestions as to what we think you should do if you're deciding whether or not you want to get this. So we'll go into that in more detail, and I'll kind of skip over that. But yeah, so that is what it is for the spotlight cash for today. And we're going to wrap this up here very soon. So we are coming into, and this will be the first time I've ever had a guest on with the MCU Minute. So we're going to talk a little MCU stuff here. And we'll talk all about what's coming up. And this is one of the reasons, Nick was in the stream with Glazer when I put in a post about it. And I said, I think a lot of the reason that Snap may have lost a little steam is because Marvel kind of did too. There wasn't a lot this year. We had X-Men 97, right? And we had Agatha and Deadpool and Wolverine, right? So games that are associated with a property, you always are going to do better when there's a lot of properties coming. And in this coming year, we have a lot of properties coming. So, and we'll go through them here, and I'll get Nick's excitement level for each one of these properties that are coming. I can't wait for this movie. This is a Fantastic Four poster that they put out. More and more details are coming out about this, and I cannot wait for this film. I love the aesthetic. I love the looks. I love the fact that it's taking place in a 60s, which almost looks like a Jetson city. I love this. I love the actors that they've got playing them. And I just think this is going to be awesome. This could be my movie of the year next year. I know we got good Marvel films coming, which, of course, you've got Captain America is coming out. You've got Thunderbolts, which I think is going to be great, too, because Sentry is going to be in that, and I'm excited for that. And then, of course, you have this one. And there's even more superheroes. That DC's got Superman coming out next year, too, and James Gunn's Superman movie. So there's a lot. And but I am really, and of course, Galactus, full size Galactus is going to be in this. And I don't know for sure, but I hear things here and there, but I think they may be using a story for this that's going to tie in with the 2016 Secret Wars, which is all about Franklin Richards. And I think that's where you see first steps must mean that they have Franklin Richards in this film. And I think that could be something with Galactus in there too, because Galactus and Franklin Richards have a history. In the comics, Franklin became so powerful, he made Galactus his herald. So there's a history there. And if you're seeing all this stuff from different universes and Galactus is coming, that could be what's gonna happen there. But I don't know for sure, but I am super excited about Fantastic Four. I cannot wait.
Your dog's excited about it.
My dog's excited about Galactus as well. Yes, let's go. But this is going to be great stuff. I cannot wait for this to come out. Very, very excited to see what they do. The Fox ones were what they were. They were made in a different time, and there was only so much they could do with them. Yuppie Doom was a little weird in that, he wasn't the Doom that I wanted to see. But yeah, I'm excited about this. So
I was just reviewing the cast, and it's having somebody like, I don't know if you've watched The Bear, but Eben Moss Backrack is amazing in The Bear. He is absolutely phenomenal.
He's playing Ben Grimm.
Yeah, that's really inspired casting. You've got Eddie from Stranger Things, who I really enjoy.
Johnny Storm. I mean, that's almost perfect too.
Vanessa Kirby. She's been good in a lot of the things that I've seen. I'm holding judgment, I'll reserve judgment for her. Pedro Pascal is always amazing. So But what I really like, I was just taking a look at the cast, having Ralph Ineson, who has the most amazing voice. Like, he's done voices for Diablo 4. He's one of the main characters in Diablo. He's in Ludwig, which is a phenomenal show that's a really enjoyable romp. He's no better voice could I think of for Galactus. So I'm getting more excited. The writers, one of them is really good. He's the guy who did Werewolf by Night. Okay. The other two I am a little anxious about. But I will say, like, if I'm sure you watched Last of Us.
Yeah.
The creator of Last of Us, Craig Mazin, previous to this, did the second Hangover movie, did Identity Thief. He made terrible, terrible films.
Yep.
And then he made The Last of Us. So, and then Chernobyl. Like, I try not to judge a book by its cover. You know, maybe it's stuff that they were just contracted to do and just trying to get their foot in the door. So maybe there's a Craig Mazin on that writing staff and it's going to be phenomenal. They need their writing to be good. They really need less interference from the studio. Yeah. And I think I am 100% on board with including all types of diversity in the characters. They just need to stop presenting it so cringily, I think is the best way to describe it. That's how it feels. There are some things that do it perfectly, but I think they just need to focus on trying to do it in a more natural way where it doesn't feel as forced. Yeah. No, I agree. This is the one I want to succeed probably almost more than anything else. Spider-Man's going to be very good no matter what they do. Yeah. It's just how it is. But this is a book that I've read since I was a kid, and I've always loved them. They were near and dear to Stan Lee's heart. He called them the first family of Marvel, and I really think to get going here, because this is going to be one of the teams that's going to carry Marvel into the future, the MCU, along with the X-Men when the X-Men finally come. So I really want this to be good. I want this to succeed, and I'm really hoping that it does. Obviously, we're going to get our DJs Dr. Doom in this at some point too. Whether he's in a post credits, whether he's in the ending, I don't know. But you're going to get introduced to him as well in this film at some point, I would imagine. And this is just big. I agree with you in the fact that they got to knock this out of the park. They really do.
Yeah,
they absolutely have to.
And not to mention, Superman's out literally 2 weeks before this.
Yep. Yeah, I was just looking at the date and seeing the Superman. It's weird seeing like old fashioned Superman coming back to the theater, but I'm not tired of superhero films. I'm tired of mediocre superhero films.
I agreed. Yep, agreed. I was just watching before I came on the show. I watched a show on the CW called Superman and Lois. Mm-hmm. It is honestly the best rendition of Superman I have seen in a long, long time. Crazy. Long time. Tyler Hoechlin plays as close to Christopher Reeve as Christopher Reeve probably could have. And now I know everybody says that the CW stuff can be on and off. Like Flash was okay. I enjoyed Flash. But some of the other shows were kind of hokey. They got very teen angsty in a lot of ways. And in this one, Superman's boys are in this, so he does have 2 children. So there is the teen thing in there too. But I'll tell you what, they're doing the story of the death of Superman this season. They have a Doomsday that is phenomenal. So much better than that ugly looking cave troll thing that Snyder had in his movies. Like, dude, I when I saw this, I couldn't believe it. It was incredible. Let me hear it.
Oh, and it's got the main character from the love interest from Grimm.
Yes.
Juliet.
Yep.
I was like, I recognize her and that name, and sure enough, that's where I know her from.
But I mean, they did the Doomsday looks incredible. I'm like, and this is for a TV show, dude, on a TV show budget. So yeah, I will never tire of things but like you said, they have to be good. And if they're hokey or they're just weird and the plots are bad and the writing's bad, like a lot of the Sony movies. Madam Web, I'm talking to you, and Craven will probably be similar, I would imagine. But yeah, if it's like that, I have no interest. But I'm excited for this. And there's the other one. Look, Herbie the freaking robot's in the film, man.
Nice.
I have not seen Herbie since the cartoon, the 70s cartoon. That's a card that Snap could make. If they decide to do a Fantastic Four series, obviously they're all in it already. They're all in the game. But they can do Herbie. They can do other villains like Mole Man. from the Fantastic Four. So they've got cards they could certainly do if they want to do a Fantastic Four season.
I'm intrigued to know how they're going to bring them into current day. Like, is it going to be multiverse stuff again, or are they doing something different?
That's going to lead into Secret War, because basically, did you ever read the 2016 comics?
No, I didn't.
Okay.
We talked about this.
Yeah,
I would take them on my trip, and I got.
Yeah, I would tell you to do it, because that turns into where, and it's going to explain it very easily, rather than the 1980s one, because the 80s one had the Beyonder. And the Beyonder brought all the heroes to this world, and they just all fought. That was all that one was. The other one had God Emperor Doom, which is going to be RDJ, who, by the way, was married to the Scarlet Witch. So if they go that route,
that's very odd.
It's very different. And what happens is they do end up having a battle world as well. But what happens with that is the universes all end up dying. And I can see them going this way because they mentioned in Deadpool that one key person for each world, if they get taken out or killed, that world dies. So I think that's where they're going with this. And the key people will end up being taken to, and we saw that little area where Deadpool was. He's in his own little universe at the end of that movie now. Yeah. That's going to get ripped out and get taken and put into Battle World. And it's like a mishmash of all these other universes. So the Fantastic Four could end up getting there that way as well, where it just becomes all of these other worlds and universes that are on this one gigantic planet, and they're all ruled by Dr. Doom. So, but yeah, read the comics. You'll see, I think, how it's going to weave itself into it. All right. Much more than the 80s one does. So we are getting What If starting very soon. December the 22nd. This is What If Season 3, and the last and final one of these. And that is the first X-Men ever to be in a What If show. That is Storm.
Oh, yeah? That's crazy.
So for the very first time, Storm will be, and an X-Men will be in an episode of What If. So that's starting the end of December and going into January. So that's really technically the last Marvel thing of this year, and the first of next year. Have you watched the other What Ifs? I think they're okay.
I watched the first season, but my kids, by the time the second season came out, I think we got through a few episodes of the first season, but then they gave up on Marvel, and then we're just like, no, I'm good. So I haven't watched the second season. I know apparently it's a lot more serialized rather than it being an anthology. And I think What If is better as an anthology because the comics were always an anthology. They were just separate stories. Yeah. But it's hard to pull people back in. And this is, again, it's a committee decision. It's hard to get people to come back in when there's not a connected storyline, except it's also hard to get people to come back in if they don't feel invested in the storyline and don't care about it or miss a bit and don't want to watch it and follow back up with it. Yeah. Yeah, no, it's true. This episode, I think, is called What If Storm Got Mjolnir? So I think that's I think I'm pretty sure anyway. So, and it's like I said, there were good ones and there were bad ones. I love the one that they did the hard tribute to. They did the tribute to Die Hard, where, oh God, the villain from Iron Man 2, the guy who was the rival of Tony Stark in Iron Man 2, Sam Rockwell played him. Oh yeah. He ends up pulling like a Die Hard where he tries to break into Avengers Mansion on Christmas Eve and steal all the tech from Tony and all that kind of stuff. And the only ones that were watching over the mansion were Happy Hogan. Yes, that was a good one. I enjoyed that one. I had fun with that. I thought that was funny. Yeah. Some of them are good. Some of them not so much. They're some of them get off the beaten path. I did like the one in the last season with Captain Carter. I thought that was kind of fun. So yeah, I'd heard that's one that I had heard a lot about as well. Yeah, but I think that's it's also similar to something like the Netflix series like Black Mirror or Love, Death and Robots. There are some exceptional episodes. There are some terrible episodes. Not so good, yeah. But the thing is, the benefit that you've got is, again, they're anthologies. So it's okay if there's crappy episodes. You just watch the ones that are really good. Yeah. And that's true. You don't have to watch every single one in order to get the story. And I think there's benefit to that. Yeah. My favorite episode so far of all of them has been the Dark Doctor Strange one.
where that was and that of course he showed up in the movie. He showed up in the Multiverse of Madness, so that was kind of neat. But yeah, that was my favorite one, by far my favorite episode so far. So yeah, we'll see. This is it. This is the last season they're doing. So yeah, it goes from December 22nd through Christmas and into the new year. So the season's first trailer confirmed a number of wild characters, including Shang-Chi, Kate Bishop, as they're both as cowboys in an episode, along with Captain America and Moon Knight in massive mech suits. What if season 3 will also make MCU history with the inclusion of Storm, marking the first X-Man to appear next to classic Marvel MCU heroes. So there you go.
It's felt so strange not having them be a part of that universe. So I'm looking forward to the integration of that.
Same here. Yep, same here. Next up, we have your friendly neighborhood Spider-Man. This comes out in January, the end of January. I love the animation style of this. It's very 60s looking. And this is the origin of Tom Holland's character. So this is Tom Holland's Spider-Man. Nice. This is how he gets the bite. This is basically showing you what we skipped through when we first saw him in Civil War. So you're going to see a lot of the backstory. The villains, again, the animation in this it's almost cell shaded in a way. But it's very cool. Like you'll see, if you're a fan of the old Spidey comics, Doc Ock has like a flat head, kind of like you used to in the 60s, and very old school looking. They changed the race of some characters. Norman Osborn is racially changed. He's been changed to, but who cares, right? Like it's all the same stuff. But I like it. Do you have a version of Venom in this? And so I think this is going to be fun. Anything Spider-Man they usually don't screw around with. It's usually pretty good. Yeah. So I imagine that this should be a pretty cool thing. And it's always kind of cool to get to see what happened with Tom Holland prior to becoming Spider-Man and the stuff that we missed. So, next one. And this is just going over at the Friendly Neighborhood Spider-Man's first footage premiered in late October, teasing the different look at Peter Parker's origin story that was not seen in the MCU. The series will see him go up against some of the most iconic villains, including Green Goblin, Dr. Octopus, and Tombstone. So a couple different villains that you haven't seen. This I cannot wait for. Daredevil Born Again in March 4th, 2025. I love the Netflix Daredevil series. It was one of my favorites that I've ever seen. Charlie Cox, amazing at this character. And you're getting the whole cast of characters back. John Barenthal's Punisher, D'Onofrio's Kingpin. The villain in it is going to be, you're going to have Bullseye back in it as one of them, Muse. The Daredevil villain is the other villain in it, and he's amazing. He's very horror-centric a little bit even. So you're getting all them back. You're getting Foggy Nelson, the same actor that played Foggy. Karen Page is back for it as well. I do believe Rosario Dawson as Night Nurse is also back. And there's rumors, not confirmed yet, but there's rumors that all of the Netflix actors, so the one who played Luke Cage, the one who played Jessica Jones, and even the one who played Iron Fist, which most people hated, are all supposed to be back in the MCU. Yeah. So
most of those are good. One of those I'm less sold on. I didn't even like him in Defenders, but hey,
he's supposed to be in Shang-Chi too, ironically enough.
Okay.
So that, I don't know, that makes it a little promising to me, because maybe they're training him somehow, or maybe he's, because that whole Kunlun thing and everything like that should really be in that world with Shang-Chi, maybe a little bit. So maybe they'll do it better. We'll see. I hope so, because I love Iron Fist. Always did. Love the character. In fact, I just read a recent book with him in it. So I love that character. So they need to do that right, because I feel kind of bad for the actor in the way, though, because I think the writing was just bad.
I also don't, if I'm being honest, I don't know about him as an actor. I think I've seen him in other stuff. And
have you? Okay.
Yeah.
I don't recall him from anything else.
I think it might be a combination of all of the above.
Could be. Yeah. It could be. We'll see. Yeah, this is exciting, and I can't wait for this to come out. They said that they were not sparing any expenses. It is a hard R-rated. They're going to have violence, blood, all that stuff you've seen in the other ones. Where people take beatings in this series. So after years of questions about the Man Without Fear, Charlie Cox returns as Matt Murdock. Daredevil Born Again, even more exciting, is that Daredevil Born Again will canonize Netflix Defenders saga into the MCU. continuing directly from the events of those shows. Following up on Daredevil's appearances in She-Hulk and Echo, Born Again will see Matt reuniting with Foggy and Karen for a wild new adventure. They'll also be in more danger than ever thanks to Vincent D'Onofrio's Kingpin, with Wilson Fisk ascending to become New York's mayor. The Mayor Fisk storyline is very cool in comics. He basically has a no vigilante policy and basically declares war on all the superheroes and has people trying to capture them. He hires other villains that are in the MCU to go and try to take all the superheroes down. So it's a very, very cool storyline, and I'm sure they will probably do it justice as well. John Barenthal's Punisher return. Wilson Bethel's Bullseye returns. With no shortage of new enemies. This includes MCU's interpretations of Muse and White Tiger. Both of them could physically go toe-to-toe with the show's central anti-hero. White Tiger looks awesome. Dressed all in white, the tiger stripes down his sleeves and stuff like that. He looks amazing. Nice. So I'm fired up, man. Yeah.
Nice. Yeah. Let's get it. I know Daredevil is a solid win, even though I wasn't a big fan of the actress who played Elektra, but that's okay.
Yeah, Elektra I could have done without, I agree. She went a little too, like, I think they tried to make her a little too Greek accenty. Like I agree. It sounded fake at times, which it could have been. But yeah, I agree.
Yeah, I think the actress herself was not. I remember looking it up, but yeah, I don't.
Yeah, she wasn't Greek. I don't think. No. Yeah, no, it's you never know if they bring Elektra back at some point, which they might very well do. They may just hire a different actress completely with her because she's died countless times in the MCU. So they can always bring her, or not in the MCU, in the comics rather. She dies all the time. It's like you read a thing, she's dead, and then she comes back. So they may just bring her in as a completely different actress down the line. But
I'd be okay with that. Yeah, because she's that's right. She's an actor. The actress was born in France, and she's Cambodian and French. So I mean, as someone who's Greek, I don't care. But it's just like, I don't know.
Yeah,
the accent was just weird. Her acting was weird and weirdly forced. So
yeah, I agree. So Daredevil is coming. Ironheart, June 24th, 2025. We're getting an Ironheart series. All I know about this one so far is that they're using more practical effects in this to try to save themselves money. Because we all know what happened with the big She-Hulk debacle, where they spent billions of dollars making that, and it cost them more than Endgame, which is insane to make that series. So they're not doing that anymore. So they're going to try to start using a little bit more practical effects, the armor, that kind of thing. I don't know, honestly, how this one's going to go. Obviously, we got introduced to her in Black Panther. Yeah. I would love to see, and I don't know if they'll do it, but maybe now that he's back in the MCU, he may. I would love to see her AI be Robert Downey Jr., because that's who her AI is in comics. Iron Man is her AI in her outfit. So I would love to see that happen. And maybe now that RDJ is there, he could do some voice work, which probably wouldn't take him very long to do, I would imagine, for the show. I would think that'd be kind of cool and would be a definite way to get people to watch it, because everybody loves him. Even if it's his voice, they wouldn't care. But the other thing is, her villain is the Hood. Cool. Dominique Thorne's Riri Williams' Ironheart debuted in 2022's Wakanda Forever. Over 2 years after that sequel, she'll get her own Ironheart solo series, picking up where she left off from her time in Wakanda. The new show will see her return to her hometown of Chicago and MIT to improve on her new armor. She'll take what she saw in Wakanda and use it to help inspire her work. Teased for this show is an epic tech versus magic battle in the MCU as Riri faces Anthony Ramos' terrifying new villain, the Hood. So first appearance of the Hood.
My kids might be interested in seeing it. They might have a bit of a crush on Anthony Ramos.
Oh, there you go.
So maybe.
There you go. So the Hood's very popular in Snap. Many people might want to check this out specifically just to see the Hood. And where any sort of demonic character follows, the rumors of Mephisto follow with it. Oh, God. So, and there were many rumors saying that Sacha Baron Cohen was playing Mephisto in a Marvel series. So this could be the series where he shows up, at least maybe a post credits. Maybe he shows up in a scene. We don't know. But in either case, it'll be pretty cool to see the Hood. I want to see what they do with that and see exactly how they're going to do his, the cloak and all that kind of stuff. It is going to be cool to see how they do the special effects for that.
Yeah, I'm intrigued to say the least.
Mm-hmm. Yep, same here. I think it's going to be pretty cool. All right, guys, that is it.
Wow.
That is it for the MCU minutes, and was more like 10 minutes. It always ends up going longer.
Well, especially when it's you and I talking. Like,
yes, yeah, for sure. But that's okay. It even goes. Yeah, it always ends up going longer. But anyway, guys, look, I hope you all enjoyed it. I hope you enjoyed the show. We got a lot done tonight and a lot to talk about. We will return for an episode of Two Dudes Snapping very shortly. And we will go over some other things that we didn't go over here. We'll have our own comic picks that we do on that show, which we do all the time. We'll talk about those bundles in much more depth. And we'll probably have a lot more to talk about as far as the new card is concerned. And we could, I don't know, we might even take a look into the new season because we're only a week away from brand new season coming up. And that's Marvel Rivals Galacta, baby. Let's go. The Galactus family is coming. That's all I'm going to tell you is Galacta and Galactus are coming to a deck near you. I'm just warning everyone out there. So, but yeah, make sure to check that out. It's already out there on my YouTube page. We did our first couple episodes, so they are there for your viewing pleasure. So make sure you check those out. And before we go, I'm going to let Nick tell you where you can find him. And obviously, for me, again, check out the video with Prashant that came out earlier today that is out on both my YouTube channel and also on audio. This will be the same way. This will be out on YouTube. Well, it is already now. We're live streaming, obviously, but it's on my Twitch as well, and it also will be out in audio for you to listen there. And then probably will wrap it for me this week, but we'll see. I may still end up getting Red Eye Jedi on, depending if our schedules can tie up. I am in talks with Regis. Regis is so busy. He's doing all the Pokemon stuff. He did get back to me, which is very kind of him to do. I know he's super, super busy, but I'm in talks with him to try to get him on the show. So that is good. That'll probably pretty much do it for the week. All I'm going to say, guys, is happy Thanksgiving for those of you to celebrate Thanksgiving on Thursday. Enjoy it. Don't eat too much turkey and fall asleep from the tryptophan. Have the greatest of holidays. But Nick, where can people find you if they want to check out your streams?
I'm starting to get back into doing Twitch. I'm going to do my monthly game, just see if I can hit Infinite day one. I'm not going to stress about it anymore, and I'm finding it much more enjoyable when I don't. Nice. My handle is Nick the Greek Geek there. You'll find me every week on the Power on Gaming channel where I'm doing the weekly card discussion videos generally with GC. This week it's going to be coming up, if all things work out, with Devilish Plays, who's amazing. He's a phenomenal creator. And I'm doing with Gregor and Perry, both Power On members. We're doing a Dan Hip tier list that I'm currently editing the version right now, which has taken me a lot longer than I wanted, but I think it's going to be really fun. I've put a lot into it, and I think people are going to enjoy it. I hope they will, at least.
That's awesome.
Yeah, but check the Power On Gaming channel. Check out my Twitch. Please feel free to follow me over there, and I look forward to seeing you hopefully soon. I may stream tomorrow, depending on whether or not we go out to see a movie with the kids. But we'll see how it goes.
Very cool, guys. There you go. All right. Yeah, make sure you check out Nick's work. And again, like I said, we will be back with another episode of Two Dudes Snapping as well very soon. So, guys, all I can say is this as a final farewell: stay positive. It's not always gloom and doom, and avoid Twitter because Twitter is always gloom and doom. Look. We'll get through this together. I can guarantee you that good folks like Nick, myself, Prashant, who I had on earlier, a lot of those people in Power On Gaming, they're all awesome. There's a big group out there, and Super Tech God bless. He put out a post last night saying, "What did y'all think of the Series 3 drops?" And he goes, positivity only, please. And I'm like, that's fantastic. There's a good group of people out there who do content for this, that are keeping this very low key and very fun for everybody. We know that we sympathize with you, the Series 3 players and below. We do. We feel your pain, and we want, and hopefully the things that we say and others like us say will help Snap realize that too, and they'll get that stuff fixed up for you. I enjoy this game. I love Marvel stuff, and that's the reason why I do it. And I'm going to continue to do it and try to bring as much positivity as I can, even though there are negative stuff. We went over a lot of negative stuff at the beginning of this show. It does happen. But look, I would just tell you, hang in there. We're getting 2 very exciting seasons coming up. With the Rival season. I mean, Marvel Rivals is coming out too, which is cool. A lot of people are going to be playing that as a Marvel property. And then we have the Dark Avengers season coming out in January, which also looks very cool. And also the promise of things being taken care of in January also. So yeah, I think it's going to get better. I think it's going to get better.
I hope so. I think they need to make some changes, but I think with people like Griffin on board, I think there's that chance that might actually happen. I think he's the best thing that Second Dinner has done in a while.
Agreed. Yep, absolutely agree. All right, guys, that's going to do it for Nick and myself. Thank you so much for listening to people that popped in. I did see some people popped in a little bit. I saw a couple of people who were listening out there. Appreciate all of you. Please make sure to subscribe to my YouTube channel if you haven't done so already. Please make sure to drop a like on the video. Give me some comments as well. Let me know what you think. Are you completely, do you need someone to talk to? Please leave me some comments. I can kind of act as a pseudo Snap psychologist as well as a Snap DJ. So yeah. Drop me some comments. Also, make sure to, if you're listening on audio, please rate the podcast if you can. Follow me on some of them if you will. I also, by the way, started a Discord. So I know nothing about it and probably will suck at it, but listen, it's there. So I have a Discord out there, and check that out. I know they did some stuff for us as well over on Snap Judgment's Discord. Also, they have, I think, all of our names in that now as part of his, which is very cool. So yep, that's it, guys. Have a great rest of your night. Again, please be safe, be kind to one another. Always, especially on the socials. And hopefully I will see you all for the next episode of Snap Decisions. This is your Snap DJ signing off.
If only